Good morning, everybody. We got New Year's Eve going on tomorrow. We will be in a new year. There's a lot that's went on in this past year, and there is a lot coming up in the next year. If you're joining us now, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support the platform, we got the stuff down there. Dwayne, how are you doing?
I am light and lively. I am ready. 2022 is in the can, and we're going to get 2023 off and rolling.
You know, I don't know if it's an epiphany or what you would call it. I'm hurting this morning, dude. Like I'm struggling to get on here and do this. I had a nightmare about the movement last night. I think it was a little bit of PTSD from the topics that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And, it was it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
General nightmares or anything like just coming at it? Was it like, Slender Man, or was it, Jason, Freddy, or?
No, it's just, I've had some similar before. I had one earlier this year, like where I had pulled up into a mall parking lot, and I get out and there's just guys getting shot left and right. And I'm screaming like, help, call the cops. They're like, nothing we can do here. And then I'm running around to the other side of the parking lot, like, please, somebody help us. They're killing these guys. And nobody would listen. And then I screamed at the guy. I was like, stop killing these guys. Then he points the gun at my head and says, after you, we will. And I woke up. And I said, I don't know what that dream means, but at the same time, like, how you try to break down dreams? Like, give me the meaning of it. Why would this go on? It really is reminiscent of what we're seeing in this movement with these guys that are fighting, some of them being killed, their kids being killed, and it feels like nobody is helping.
Yeah.
And I don't understand something that affects this many people worldwide, why our legislators and people aren't helping. But I will tell you this, guys. I don't want to start this off on a sour note. It was just a dream, right? And I think that comes if you got empathy and you care about what goes on in this movement. At the same time, we had some good meetings even after we got off of here yesterday. I'll keep my lips tight on some of the stuff that's going on. But 2023, within the first half of the year, there is some bigger plans than I've ever seen for this movement, ever. And if it all comes to fruition, which it looks like it's going to, this thing might start getting exciting, Dwayne.
Well, it's been exciting. But yeah, I mean, what you've talked about, I'm not going to be Tom Holland here talking about Spider-Man. I'm not going to slip up and tell anything. But from what I understand, I mean, again, I know people have said this. It sounds like this is going to be some big developments happening in the movement overall. A lot of behind the scenes work by Eric and the Dad Talk Today team, of course, kind of one and the same. You do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, for the Dad Talk Today community out there, I mean, this is one of those tell your friends. Eric's talked about this a number of times, and I'm gonna go a little bit of a rant here about getting people involved and all that stuff. I mean, Eric daily puts his neck out on the line. He's done so many things. I know you probably don't want to hear this. He's like, oh God, we're gonna talk about, because he hates talking about it. He'd rather be the guy behind the scenes watching the success and all that stuff. But he has stuck his neck out so many times, and we need to get the community, everybody, Dad Talk Today, America, all the different groups, all the people behind this, like, share, subscribe. And I know it's a broken record, but that is what the people that are threatened by us are looking at. They're wanting to see, do they have 1 million followers? Do they have this? Do they have funding? Are they a threat to us? 2023, the threat can happen. We just need everybody to get in and start doing this. I know at times like what's my like or my share or my $1 or $5 going to do? It does a lot because you and everybody else joining in that tidal wave coming, that's what's going to get this done. And if we can get those numbers and the stuff that you've got in the background going on, it can happen.
Well, so, and it's not that we're trying to keep those plans from you guys. I mean,
well,
this is just like one of the craziest things I've ever been involved with. There's people that will sabotage your efforts and stuff just because they can't be the captain of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I had a conversation last night about that very thing. Uh-oh. Looks like Eric is in a pursed lip situation. I will.
There we go again. There we go again. My internet has been fine. All right. But, you know, like I said, there's a lot of exciting stuff. I mean, you hear the strategy and stuff that, you know, Carnell and all of us was talking over this past week. There is very big things that we can do for this movement, but our support doesn't match it. Right. And I think.
Uh-oh. Now your audio went out and you're in deep thought. Well, I'm going to try to. Oh,
and they don't have much hope. And they want to see something exciting going on. You know what? I'm going to stop this right here. I'm going to let you take it for a second and I'm going to go reboot this internet.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about, you know, the movement. I mean, kind of echoing what Eric's talking about. Oh, I'm back and I'm out there. You can see all my transformers. The sabotage and the infighting and all those things, the things that have prevented us from getting a lot of things done. That's been the thing with the movement. And I have to believe, I mean, I know some people are probably thinking, oh my God, they're wanting to, I'm from the people I've talked to, they're saying the exact same thing. And I've talked to a number of people all across the country about these topics, trying to get the needle moved forward. And, you know, well, what Eric was saying about not releasing information, it's not like we're trying to keep it or make it all about, you know, Eric or any of those things. It's you get some information. I mean, again, in football or any sports or any whatever, you don't release to the public all the specifics and all the data and information, because then you're just giving your playbook to the enemy. I mean, Eric probably won't like it being said that way, but that's how the pissed off parent says things. You know, it's the enemy. These guys and girls are trying to stop getting equality. They're trying to stop parents from seeing their kids from seeing their parents. And, you know, we've got to take steps to make sure that that, you know, doesn't have that, you know, that we can fix the glitch and we don't release the playbook to the enemy. And, you know, there's a lot of strategic things that are happening on your behalf. And that's another thing too, you know, well, hell, yesterday we were on for like 3.5 hours, and that's just the first part of the day. That's just what you guys see. And there's I mean, Eric spent, oh God, another, I think 12 hours on behind the scenes in certain meetings, doing different things, directing me to do stuff. And I mean, you know, the Dad Talk Today team is, and I say it's, you know, team, it's you all involved as well, because we're looking at what feedback we're getting from y'all and taking that and saying, okay, we can plan this, or we can, you know, try to do this, do different things. That's what, I mean, that's what we're trying to, I mean, we're trying to get that out there and show you what we're doing. And just, I don't know, I get, there's so many things going on. I got just all this in my head. We're trying to get get equality for everyone. That's at the end goal. And it's just trying, how do we get there? How do we strategize? I mean, we spend hours in strategy meetings trying to figure out next steps and getting certain key players and moving things forward. But that's, you know, the plan for what we're doing for 2023. And, you know, we want you to be there. You guys are all part of this. That's the other thing too. You all are the reason that we're here, and we need the continued support. the likes, the subscribes, little jingle in the jangle, uh, to show that that we're making the right steps. Because we feel that we have the the New Year's Eve 2023 show up here, and we're don't have a whole lot planned as far as a specific. We're going to talk about child support, we're going to talk about parental alienation, DNA fraud. I'm wanting to bring talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, we had an idea yesterday about the inner workings of that crock pot when family gets together, a new family after there's been a breakup, and trying to put that new family together. We're trying to come up with new ideas, and of course we try to get these from the community. Things that you want to talk about, we go out and research those, bring those back, and then try to put together an informative, educational, and hopefully fun show for everyone. So that's what we're really, that's just the things that we're doing, and we can't do it without everyone's help. I'm gonna look at some of the comments and say hi to everybody. I got a lot to talk about, but again, I love all the communication and the feedback and everything. So we got Julie. Julie's on. Good morning. Happy New Year. I don't have the ability to put this on the tagline thing, so I just have to kind of run down the list. There we go. Got Wanda Best. Happy New Year. We've got Tom, Jameson. Jameson. He's went on quite a bit. Mandalorian. Again, haha. We get the Mandalorian reference. Got Kim. Let's see here, and then got our guys and girls on. Again, love all the input and everyone jumping in and commenting, wanting to get this out and get everyone sharing, subscribing, and all that fun stuff. And looks like Eric is back. Got the rebooted router.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Oh, way to start off the new year. We hadn't started it yet. Maybe next year I won't have any. I just chewed out the phone company. They were supposed to be here on Tuesday. It's Saturday.
Uh-oh.
And when you do this, I mean, it cripples people from being able to operate. But my internet was fine until I got on here. Kim Gomez Sandoval said, it's abuse to alienate family. God bless our babies with shared parenting. Good morning from Colorado. Baby mom made 43 false reports to gain custody and housing. 43. And we fought, and now my son has been exonerated. Government CPS placed him in hotel with baby mama's new boyfriend of 30 days. Now they can't find her. She's in contempt. Okay. Whoa.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Got a whoa?
Yeah, it's a whoa. It's baby's mama, the government CPS placed them in a hotel with baby mama's new boyfriend of 30 days. Now they can't find her. She's in contempt. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
That's almost a Amber Alert. I hate to even call them Amber Alerts anymore. Yeah, I mean, we had down here in Texas, we had a CPS officer with a young lady. I think she was 14 that was in a hotel. They put them up in a hotel, and they have on video the CPS agent telling the 14-year-old girl to go prostitute herself if she wanted to make money. So there's our CPS folks. Shouldn't there be an Amber Alert? Okay. I'm not the only guy thinking that. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, good morning. Happy New Year, guys. Look, man, it warms my heart to see you guys over there on YouTube. Do me a favor. This would be a good time to mention this. You never know when you're going to face some type of censorship, or there's going to be something with this father's rights thing, and they say, we got to shut these guys up. That's why we're going on multiple platforms. We are now on Pinterest. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are on Rumble. Do me a favor. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. YouTube right now is my #1 priority, guys. If you can go over there, subscribe, ding that bell. I'm really wanting to see more of our guys over there. Obviously, Facebook is our biggest platform. If I had to do this thing over again, I still would have had Facebook, but I would have tried to build it somewhere else, because it really has crippled us. There's no reason why our people shouldn't be seeing our stuff. And a lot of times that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's going to be honest with you. There's no reason. There's 500,000 people on that page, and we're seeing this little bit of interaction on here. Timbo Harrison just sent in 50 stars. Guys, thank you so much.
Start a star party.
Yeah, somebody try to start a star party.
I will twerk. I don't care what Eric says. Okay. I will twerk. I gotta
I'll let
Google it. Oh, he's froze again. There we go. Okay, he's back.
I'm back.
I didn't hear what you just said. Did I get confirmation from you that you'll twerk? We're gonna start
No. I said I will watch. I might not even watch. I'll turn my head. But if you guys really want to see Dwayne do that,
I'll twerk.
and I think it would be comical. Yeah, only dads. We got only dads going on here. We'll dance for stars.
We'll dance for stars. Hey, you know what? Go to my OF page to see how to twerk. That's where I'm at.
Oh my God.
You know what?
Absolutely, Jason Bermender. He said, "Can we give stars so he won't twerk?"
Hey, you know what?
Paul
Whatever
said,
works.
"Please, no." I'm with you guys. I am with you guys. 100%.
I mean, I'll throw my back out. It'll happen.
On a serious note, man, like I said, I just got in touch with Dwayne maybe like 30 minutes before we came on and said, I don't have a theme for the show. And sometimes that happens for a reason. There's many times that we just get on here and we show up and we do what we can, and there's somebody that needs to hear it. And so I'm going to throw that back to you guys. You know what? We're always talking about the support on Dwayne that we need from the movement. What I would like to hear from you guys, there's no shortage of people saying, we want you to do this. We want you to do this. Mm-hmm. And you name me some ideas in this community that you guys would like to see, that you also say, I will support it to make it happen, that you have ideas to make it happen, not just to say, hey, I got an idea, you guys do it. What are some things that the community can do that they say, if you do this, we will support? I don't know that we've ever tried that before. Also, if there's somebody out there that's struggling with something right now, maybe you went through the holidays without your kids. Here's another holiday that's about to happen. You're afraid you're not going to be able to see them. Whatever it is you're struggling with today, man, talk to us. Talk to us. That's what we're on here for. We are on here for you guys. I still got a few more voicemails that we haven't listened to, and we can get into those here in a little bit. I'm supposed to be doing a show tomorrow. I got to hear from the gentleman. I know he's been working, but it is the gentleman who was blocked from seeing his child at the funeral home. They literally had cops lined up in front of the casket and blocked him and his family from being able to see his daughter that passed away from cancer. You know, Dwayne, one thing I'll see, oh man, they're always telling these sad stories. Yep. Because they need to be told.
We'd love to not tell those stories.
I would absolutely love it. I want to hear some of the success stories. We just don't hear them as much, unfortunately. Yeah. I would love to hear some of the success stories. And, you know, this past week, I really enjoyed having Mr. Carnell on the show, dude. What an amazing, amazing guy. He's been doing this for years. And, you know, we had the conversation offline, Dwayne. It was one of those, you're torn between two places. It's like, do I believe in the system? No. Do I want to promote the system? No. At the same time, do we want to look at our guys and say, don't do anything and sit there like a knot on the log? No. We gotta have solutions behind these statements. It's not enough to just say, go your own way and hopefully the system will change. No.
That's not going to work.
That's self-preservation. And I, dude, if you got to do that, you do that. I'm behind you 100%. At the same time, I would like to see the system change and get some legislative action so that we can get the nuclear family put back together. Is that a pipe dream? You know what? Well, if enough people show up and we start growing these things, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, I don't know if you want to kind of jump into this area, but Jeff Younger received his information yesterday. For those that don't know, Jeff Younger is the one where his 7, 8, 9-year-old, 7, 8, 9, 10, now 10-year-old, they're trying to transition the child from a boy to a girl. I don't know if you want to talk about that live on the air. I mean, he did receive the results.
Yes, I would. That's another reason why I would like to get some of these guys to go follow us on Rumble. I feel like we have a lot more opportunity to talk on some of these things very openly. That is just what is to your understanding, Dwayne, because I haven't had as much time to put into that and to find out what's going on. What is going on with the Younger situation?
So the I guess bonus mom, the non-bio mom, but is the mother. She's a pediatrician, and she's been trying to transition the boy Jeff Younger's son, I think the last 3 or 4 years in the Dallas, Texas courts. And the last thing, there's been a bunch of setbacks, but the last thing is she's moved him now to California, which other way to sugarcoat this is a lot more friendly to that type of procedure than Texas would be. Of course, with the way Texas is going, who knows? But anyway, we had the Attorney General. They filed a mandamus. I can't believe it was a mandamus to basically put a stay on that. So so she would have to move back. And this goes back to what I was talking about with I think I called yesterday about after everything's been done, getting the courts to do the right thing. Well, yesterday the Supreme Court denied the state Supreme Court denied that motion. And it was presented by a well-known law firm in this area. I think it was the largest contributor to judges' reelection campaigns. I don't have that. Actually,
that was involved in several different cases, big cases that you've seen in Texas law firm that have been on here. That law firm, absolutely.
Yeah, and he was denied what was right. And I look at it objectively. I mean, I sit there, and it's not I'm going to be pro Jeff or I look at the data. Look what's available, what the law is the best of my understanding. I'm not an attorney, obviously, but look at all these things and go, well, at the end of the day, you have a father fighting for his son's very life, and the courts are being allowed to transition this child. I mean, they have a hand in it to transition this child from a boy to a girl, and he doesn't want to be. So, and he's 10 now. Dude. He wants to be a cowboy or a pirate tomorrow to be, pop his eye out and cut his leg off. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, dude, until he gets a new judge,
which that unfortunately won't happen because, again, for everyone, and I'm sure everyone's aware, family courts are courts of equity, meaning they say they follow the law and they have the law, but they can do judges' discretion. They can do whatever they want. And if they have judges in there that, they play God, and this is what happens. They don't have a jury trial. They don't have anyone that they answer to. Sure, we have the appeals process. We have that. But again, we had an issue years ago with Chris Clay, where you have the bio dad. They had 50-50. The mom died in a car accident, and the 6-month boyfriend was getting equal rights to the child, who I believe was 3 or 4 at the time, the same rights as the bio dad. That case went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court, and it wasn't unanimous.
Right.
I mean, that's where we're at today. And that's to the community. We've allowed that to happen. I did, you did. Everyone's allowed it by not, supporting and getting out there and saying, we're not going to take it. This is where we're at. We don't have an option. I mean, in another generation, if there is one more, the court, we're not gonna have anything. And this is not doomsday stuff. This is just, you look at the way the laws are working. I mean, hell, we've got a Preborn Child Act that's been coming through. I mean, the courts, the legislature, they're all working in concert together. I know this is tinfoil hat stuff, but the data is there.
Well, dude, just some of the stuff that Cornell was talking about over this past week. Yeah. Like, who knew that you could buy a positive paternity test online? And so that might seem crazy. Like, I was telling my wife about it last night. She was like, how is that going to happen? I said, okay, let's look up Chris Manzer on YouTube in paternity court. This is a guy that went to prison for 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. For non-payment of child support because he didn't show up to court for a kid he didn't know he had. Okay. And then he goes to jail. She's on there giving him this hard time, but they had a paternity test.
Right.
The crazy thing is the paternity test didn't say who the father was, didn't have his picture on there or anything. And so he brings up in court, I think she's lying. I think she did something. And everybody's like, oh, here comes his tinfoil hat. What ended up happening? They did 2 more paternity tests, both of them saying he was not the father.
Right.
And then, as much as she shot off at the mouth, acted like Amber Heard and Cupcake. Okay.
Cupcake.
Once they mentioned, it was like, do you know who the father is? She said, yep. When's the last time you talked to him? I talk to him often. It's like, dude, how did somebody get it to that point to where that paternity test that was wrong was allowed to put an innocent man in prison for 5 years, guys?
With a smile on their face.
And there's more. We got the Unborn Child Support Act. I want to explain to you how confusing this movement is at times. And here's the other part of this, guys. While this legislation is going on, we've done pretty good in the legislative arena and trying to be an influence and keep the conversations going there. That needs its own full-time team, because I've seen, I think, up to 3 different bills on the Unborn Child Support Act. One of them might sound good on the surface, just like, Carnell was talking about. Hey, that would say, even though they want him to pay child support from the very beginning, it would establish that he is the father and that he should have some rights from the very beginning. So you could actually use that. And then she has to have a DNA test to show that he was the dad. And you can now get a DNA test at 7 weeks at no pain to the child. There's no danger.
No danger.
It's just mom's blood and it's dad's cheek. Okay. So we can do that at 7 weeks. So that one might sound okay. Well, then you got the other ones like Senator Kevin Kramer that I was reading about that said basically mom can say I'm pregnant by this guy and she doesn't have to do a DNA test. Think about that. Could you imagine saying you have the power to say who you want to be the father? Now, why in the world would any politicians say that that's okay? I'll tell you why. Because she's probably going to pick the man with the most money.
Yeah.
And the man with the most money is going to pay more. And if he pays more, the state makes more. But there is strategy and stuff. And this is what our movement is missing. I know these aren't the most popular conversations or stuff that just tickles your ears, but it's what you need to hear, guys. I want to go back to the state of Florida with Ron DeSantis and the shared parenting bill that he vetoed. Ron, I'm extremely disappointed in you. I thought you was an amazing governor.
Yeah.
This is one of those that really put some red flags up, but there's only so much I want to point his way, Dwayne. Because as much as people just want to say, oh man, he was crooked and he did this. Where were you guys and how many of you actually had a conversation with Ron? Because if you didn't, guess who was? And that's where our movement doesn't know how to strategize. There was ways to get to him and to say, hey, we need to talk to you. The bar is going to be coming to you. The attorneys, all this money is going to be slung your way because they do not want this to happen. I believe he actually has a good heart. He busted the domestic violence in one of the domestic violence organizations down there. One of them was getting like that. I think it was the CEO got like 275 days of vacation time one year. And then the next day claimed 400. There's not even 400 days in a year.
It's like
365. And he busted them and saw that they was getting all this government money to push this agenda and said, no, shut them down, got the money back. When it comes to the shared parenting and alimony bill, that is the 3rd time, guys, not number 1, not number 2,
correct.
3 times that our legislation to make equality inside of the family courts, that's equality for men, that's equality for women. It's 50-50. 3 times that it went through the House, went all the way through the Senate, and all we had to have was a governor sign the bill. 3 times that a governor vetoed it. The other 2 times was Governor Rick Scott, which I'll tell you, he seems to be a pretty big thing when we go to these political conferences. We went up to him and actually asked him to talk to us about the shared parenting bill that he vetoed twice last year, actually. And he declined to talk about it. He was okay to talk until he heard what we had to talk about. And
I'm not playing a sick Rick.
I honestly think, though, Dwayne, had our movement strategized and found out a way to get to Ron, we might have had a different outcome. Maybe that's just bias on my part, but I honestly think it could have happened. If you could have had the conversation. Like I said, I see what he did with the DV, but then again, if we're not there having the conversations, guess who is?
Right.
The ones that have full-time lobbyists that do nothing but when equality or these bills come in to represent you, they squash them.
Right.
They have to squash them because they got to protect the industry.
Yeah, I mean, they were being paid off. There's all this money behind the scenes. Again, for just to give you kind of work this around, Social Security was initially voluntary. It was supposed to go away. It was an immediate stopgap decades ago. Look where we're at today. Now they're plundering it and all that. And I go off on the legislators, and I'm sure there's one or two out there that doesn't know. The majority do know what's going on. I have up on my screen right now a process. They do it for the body change surgeries on minors, and they talk through the steps that the legislators go through to keep this perpetual hamster wheel rolling. They'll introduce a bill, keep it in committee, and then at the last second, kill it for some whatever reason. But all the while telling you, oh, yeah, no, we're conservative, we're liberal, whatever, doesn't matter. And they just keep doing that. And that's repeat. Huh?
You heard me talk too much about Ron DeSantis. You want me to talk about Governor Abbott? Is that what you're wanting me to do?
Oh, well, this is every state. But yeah, Abbott, don't get me started.
Well, I mean, you talk about the younger situation. There was things they could have done a long time ago, and people sat by and didn't have a spine and didn't want to get their hands dirty. And I'm going to tell you, it's crazy, dude. One of the hardest things is with Texas, and that why you're at 93% with fathers,
93, 95, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is because they have a full-time lobbyist team to go against that state.
Family Law Foundation.
They're there. The only opposition that showed up during the last legislative hearing for shared parenting was them.
Well, the last one. No, you were at the last one, HB 803.
Yeah, I was there, dude. I got to say, the guy that sponsored y'all's bill, I really liked him because he did. Yeah, Mays. He got up there at the end of the day and said, look, you had almost 200 parents here that testified on behalf of this. They're wanting equality. They're not asking for superiority. At the same time, I think there was only 8 to 10 people here who testified against the bill. But I want to make you aware, every single one of them belong to the Texas Family Law Foundation, who is the lobbyist that have to protect this industry. I mean, he pointed it out. Yeah. The sad thing is he was also talking to people on the legislative committee that are a part of that, too. So it is what it is, man. I mean, that's the other thing, Dwayne. We got to be careful because when I talk about how these attorneys and these politicians and people don't care, for the most part, that's right. There are some good ones in there. It takes the majority. And so we can't put them all in one box because we are going to still, even though I'm really down in that arena, and I think I'm going to put more of my time into getting our guys up to the front lines, there's still a need for that arena to be pursued, to keep the relationships going. Because once we get the people, you still got to have the relationships. Over the past 3.5 years, that's what I've been doing, is building relationships. And if I need to get in touch with somebody, I usually can do it. At the same time, give it 4 or 8 years from now, there's going to be a new administration. And you just lost every bit of what contacts you did have. Rinse and repeat. So you got to keep getting in there. Do I think any of this should have to be done in order for parents to get some type of equality? Absolutely not, man. No. I mean, the whole thing is just feels like charades sometimes, I go with WWE wrestling. I always go with that is, they already know the outcome before they get in, and it's just who's going to win. That's it. That's the thing. It's true right there, Ben. Asking the corrupt people to stop the corrupt people from doing corrupt things. It's like going to your abusers and saying, hey, the abuse doesn't feel good. Or, hey, they're making money off of us and not letting us see our kids. Well, they're an attorney that you're talking to. So, dude, it was crazy. Like, I know this guy is never going to talk to me again anyway, but when I was at CPAC earlier this year, I had just kind of reached my boiling point. I wasn't being as nice as I once was. And I sat down with this senator and, he told us that we needed to educate the legislation. And I said, dude, half of the legislation are attorneys. They know what's going on. They don't care. He looks at me on camera and says, well, I'm an attorney. And I was like, really? Then, okay, well, now you got to go educate the judges. And it was just, it's pass you off to the next person because nobody really wants to do what's in the best interest of the child. That's why we got to be very careful with identity politics. We have picked our teams. They got their certain issues that they talk about, and they're told to run on nothing but those issues because that's what gets them elected and
Right.
that's what gets them money. So we got all these other things that we're seeing going on right now, but they're not going to touch that because it doesn't bring the voter base and it doesn't bring the money. Imagine if this movement actually voted on behalf of what they believe. It's not important. I mean, well, it's not popular, but here's the deal, guys. If you want to see some action, you want to see some change, you got to get involved.
Yeah.
You got to get involved. And we need, it's not going to be just me and you coming here on Facebook Live saying everybody show up, like, share, subscribe. It's everybody working together. How many of you actually brought the grandparents that we asked for earlier this week? I wanted to see him because I'm going to tell you, grandparents are going to be a very key element to this situation right here. If you're one of these parents that are going through this, I want you to reach out to mom and dad. You can do it right now, or you can do it when we get off this live and say, look, there's a show going on. You might not understand it that much, but keep listening in and you will. I go back to the John Mass story. You know, when I was talking to John on that Thanksgiving, he was like, I have one of the most supportive families out there, but they don't necessarily know what I'm going through. Right. So sometimes it feels like I still don't have anybody to talk to because I can't relate to them. Now, over time, they came in here and they are still getting educated more and more and saying, oh my God, it was even worse than we thought. I can't believe what he was going through. You can help educate your family and stuff that might not necessarily know your situation by letting them come in here and hear from other people outside of you that it's going on with. And when mom and dad, when grandma and grandpa get behind these issues, I'm telling you, man, you want to see some movement, they'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about it. Other people, chats and calls that I get. I'm going to pull from the good book here about creating disciples. That's an area that each person here needs to do. Because, I'm a little egg on my face. You've been talking to me about, John Mass story for a while. It wasn't until, we've been talking a while about it, and I, of course, knew about it for years, but it took a while for me to say, I'm going to sit down and actually watch the documentary because, it's an hour commitment. Yep. And, and I felt bad, but the thing people have to understand is like, they're not going to get it the first time you tell it to them or the way you tell it to them. At the very least, be a stone in the shoe. All your conversations don't need to be about these topics, but there should be a twinge of it. There should be in certain ways, because it impacts everyone. And then you're getting those conversations going, and make sure that when they walk away, they go, I'm going to have to check that out. Or, wow, not walk away like, wow, Dwayne's a jerk because he, went off on them and made me feel stupid. Because then they're going to, fight against you. We're dealing with a lot of emotions here.
Oh, yeah, dude. We got something in here from Benjamin Boshaw, voted third party ever since I was 18. And it was Don versus Hillary. The Bike Guy Mobile, third party all the way, dude. I just recently was talking about this earlier this week too. I was in interview mode for so long that I have interviewed people from every party, all kinds of stuff. And when you're doing these interviews, it sounds a little impersonal, but it's not. You're out here trying to get that information for people that need to hear it and to encourage the conversation. So sometimes the conversations you're having are going in one ear and out the other because I'm already trying to formulate what's my next question. Dude, some of those times that I was at the conferences, I would be going on 12 hours a day on 5 or 6 cups of coffee, no water, no food. And just like my head from having all these conversations just felt like it was going to explode, because even though you're not doing physical work, you're constantly like, I've got to have this question going, or I'm going to have dead space on the screen and I'm going to look like an idiot. Right. So sometimes you don't get to comprehend what's going on as much as what do I got to do next? But we go back and I'm listening to these interviews that we've done over the past couple of years. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know how good this was. I can't believe we overlooked it. I've interviewed Republicans. I've interviewed Democrats. I've interviewed Libertarians. I've interviewed independents. The Libertarian candidates, buddy. There is an interview I want you to go back and watch, and it was with Spike Cohen.
Yep.
He was the vice presidential nomination for the Libertarian Party. And when I went back through that, I was like, you couldn't have asked for a more knowledgeable and straight to the point guy, and nothing about what he was saying was fake. You could tell like he was behind it. He was talking about Title 4D and Section 8 and all these different things. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, this is amazing. And we got some of those nuggets in there. So this is just a long way of saying Spike's coming back to the show. I talked to him earlier this week, and I want you guys to show up and listen because, dude, the only problem I have with the Libertarian Party, and they know this because I've had these conversations with many of them, is they don't win, right? And I think it's, if you want to know like kind of what our movement is, I'd say it's like the Libertarian Party because they never can organize to do what they really need to do. And I'm not trying to bash on them whatsoever. I actually identify with that party more than any other party out there. But those are some great candidates. And I wish we could get some of them in. I think Spike personally should have ran for president. Anyway, I'll have that conversation with him a little bit later on, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing that must be Cheryl. She said, if you have ever seen Eric at an event, feed him because he probably hasn't eaten. You know, I love it when she's there to actually help because they'll follow me around and you got to do this or you got to do this, man. I mean, dude, when I'm there, we're there for one reason. And at the end of the night, I can eat. But for right now, while we got people that we can talk to and get these conversations out, you get in game mode, dude. And that's what we're there for. I mean, it's I love being able to go out there and network. At the same time, you know, the movement needs to realize there are thousands of other issues outside of ours that have organizations, that have donors, that have support, and they are fighting for what they are behind just as much as we are fighting for what we are behind, right? And some of them are very, very good causes.
Oh, yeah.
At the same time, am I being selfish or anything by saying I think ours is of the utmost importance? No, I don't. I don't think we are one bit whatsoever. There's creative ways that you can do some of these things. Like I remember talking to the legislative committee down there in Texas, Dwayne, when they had abortion at number one, their number one priority. And then like at it was either 13 or 17 was shared parenting. And so when I got to talk to him, I said, let me challenge you on something. I was like, let me show you why I think number 17 should be right up here by number one. And it was like, okay. I was like, you're fighting for a life. You're fighting for a child's life that can't fight for themselves. It's like, absolutely. I said, well, parental alienation, shared parenting is no different. And he's like, this is saying we care what happens to him as far as being born, but we don't care what happens after. Right. And I was like, parental alienation is just like grieving the loss of a living child.
Yeah.
You know, and we had those conversations on why those two should be neck and neck. And they was like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. And so we can talk about how much we don't like the current status quo, or we can find out ways to make them see eye to eye. Let me show you how my issue right here goes right here, because you are fighting against all these other people that are in these legislators' ears saying, we want this, we want this, we want this. You know, I talked to the committee earlier this year down there, and they was like, Eric, your guys start right before legislative session. They can't do that.
Wrong time.
It was like, you need to start right at the end of the last legislative session, because there is all these people coming and getting these promises from these legislators saying, I want you to back my bill. And a lot of times they've already committed. So if you wait until last minute, they've already said what they're going to do. So it's just a good way of saying, like, I do believe when we get on here and say there's not much hope in the legislative arena. At the same time, some of that falls on our movement.
Yeah, there's, I mean, plenty of opportunities all over the place to make change. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons why I don't go down, because even though, you know, there's 100 or 200 people down there, there's, you know, organization issues. I've seen 20 years. I mean, again, talking about Texas, we've got about 20 years. There was one session we didn't put a bill forward, but 20 sessions where we've, you know, done something and it didn't go anywhere because of certain reasons. And, you know, my personal position is, if, you know, 1 million people go down there and tell these legislators, we're not going to vote for you if you don't pass this or do this, that's when it'll change. Because right now they're being incentivized. They, you know, everyone knows, everyone down in the legislative area knows about Title 4D. They're all family. I mean, a lot of them are family court lawyers. They know how this works. They know the system. They're not going to make a change because it's quote right. They're going to do what's going to get them reelected or make them money from whoever's paying them. It's pretty simple.
Well, so this isn't to pick on the guy, but I'll bring it up because we're not afraid to talk about it. Eric Mitt Smith said, "You guys are missing the boat about how to stop this. It's easy. Constitutional citizen grand juries. We put them together. We can indict these people, but no one wants or knows how or wants to do it." Well, you say we're missing the boat, dude. I think there's many ways to skin a cat, and there's all these different ways that we got to come together. Our part of this is awareness and trying to get people to the table. You're talking about no one wants to do it. A lot of times that's because nobody knows. But dude, there is no shortage of every day people in the inbox that this is the way to do it. 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 Then freaking do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then do it. This is the thing. There's going to be many different attacks that we can come together collectively as a movement, right? And if that's where you're the best at, what was we talking about yesterday? We need an arm that does nothing but that stuff, that's educated in it and gets people, and that's where they go do it. We need the same thing for CPS. We need the same thing for Title 4D, same thing for false allegations. And then what happens is we have these different people that specialize in these areas, but when we need everybody to come together, they all support. Yeah. Sounds like the Captain Planet with our powers combined. Unfortunately, no, not many people do.
Yeah,
want to do it, and that's what I don't think we're missing the boat. I think that was exactly what we was just talking about. It's one thing to talk about the problem. It's one thing to come in here and say, "I have the solution." Let's see you do it.
Yeah,
and everybody play their own part. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, no one's prohibiting him from doing it. I mean, and if he has a well-documented process to bring a grand jury, again, to the same people that deny things, go. I mean, yeah, if someone comes up with a way to fix this, and it's a logical and it's drawn out, great. But if you're calling in or typing in, this is the way to do it, and then dump it. I mean, you don't have $1 million in your back pocket. I certainly don't. I mean, we
barely have enough to pay for StreamYard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you may upgrade to 1080p here pretty soon if we get enough stars coming in. It looks like I'm going to be free of twerking. So, or maybe I think someone suggested that we do both, one to make them twerk and one to make them not twerk. I think the not twerk's winning out, but we make it up to 1080p, but yeah, I mean, it's like, you're not a genius. I'm definitely not a genius. If you have a way to approach the legislative staff or the courts or do it, document the process and push it over. I mean, for 2503, there's other organizations, but I went down and pissed off parent and I knocked through the different things you can do. I talked about the realities of it, but I went through the process and said, here it is, document 5 steps that you go through to do whatever you can for custody interference. It's out there. No one goes to it, but whole different story. But yeah, document the process. I mean, and if you can get, hell, we got Carnell. He went, 11 states? We'd, love to get someone states. That's, I mean, how many fathers are dealing with paternity fraud? Get in touch with Carnell. I'll ask to learn or read his book. He's got that book out there. Learn how that process works and dive in. I mean, baby daddy ain't gonna save you. I mean, I'll also say that it's on you. The person in the mirror is the person that's going to fix this. It's going to take everybody, doing what they can in order to get this thing across the line. There's nobody. You're not going to say. I mean, I get stuff all the time. Hey, try this, do this, do this. One, I've already researched it. And telling me to do this and then expect me to go and research it for the next 6 months, that doesn't work. No one's got the time.
Not where my abilities are.
Yeah. I mean, I took 2 years of business law, and I've dealt in the law arena for a little while, off and on, and of course my own personal journeys and trying to work on other people's stuff. But I'm not a lawyer.
Well, then the other side of it is like all the different organizations constantly post this for me. We couldn't do that. We would never have anything else to go on the page. And here's the bottom line. You say we can't get people to care about what we're doing, but it's important. If you can't get people to care about it and you know about it, how in the world do you expect us to? Let me guess.
Yeah.
You want to come on the show? Dude, we're doing what we can. And I think right now, like the voicemails, the other things that we've been doing are some of the more important things, is just showing these guys again that they're not alone.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And maybe if we can get that point across, maybe you'll see more of them want to step up to the plate. I think so. It's been like I said, dude.
Yeah, I'm more pessimistic.
Huh?
I'm more pessimistic.
I mean,
I know you're trying to be positive here. When we started the show, I was all up and you were down. Now it's like going this way.
No, I like I said, dude, I believe it can happen. It's just, some of the things that are set in place for next year, guys, I think could actually be a part of the answer, because what it is we don't have, like I said, the mainstream media or the big platform. Even though we got a good sized platform on social media, we don't have that worldwide reach that this problem is actually affecting. But what if we did? There are some things, like I said, we're strategizing on. I got a couple of different voicemails in here. We're going to play really quick. If you guys got some more, 762-441-0281. Let's listen to this call right here.
Hey guys, my name is Manny Ibarra from Idaho Falls, Idaho. And the problem that I have is recently in August 26th of 2022, I got 50-50 custody. Right afterwards, my son's mother decided to do a false allegations protection order saying I was choking my son. Went to court. There was no proof as they said they had, so it was dismissed. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, we saw our lawyer again because she wanted to try to take away my 50-50. He said she'd have to take me back to court. So we'll be seeing each other in June, and I will remain with my 50-50. Same thing then. 2 days later, she did another false protection order. But here's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Whenever she does false protection orders, she takes my son out of state, and on our order it says she's supposed to notify me 72 hours in advance if she goes out of state or takes off anywhere more than 100 miles. But I'm wondering, why is she doing this every time there's a protection order? Does my protection order supersede my court order when it comes to this? But I go to court again January 3rd, and it's just protection order after protection order, and it's always when she doesn't get her way. And I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way of filing some charges against her. So yes, thanks for everything you guys do. Been watching your guys' lives quite a bit now, and I appreciate that you guys are there batting for us. So anyways, again, Manny Ibarra, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dude, Idaho, that's a state I'm familiar with.
Yeah. What? God, it's like, what? I mean, it's the same sort, not taking away from his. It's the same thing. He gets 50-50. He has to fight to get it. And then the silver bullets and the false accusations, wasting all those resources and causing all that stress. I'm hoping, if he's listening, I'm hoping he's documenting those things every time she does it. Again, it is the game, but if it's a contempt issue, it's a contempt issue. And again, I don't know, Idaho law is going to make generalities here, but the temporary order does supersede the existing order. So I mean, if it's a temporary TRO or whatever, that obviously is going to supersede what you have existing. But her taking him out of state, that's kind of weird every time it happens. I would document those as contempt items, and then use either free law help in your area to pursue that at the right time. And unfortunately, I mean, it sounds like you're dealing with somebody that is probably being coached by their attorney to play these games. Quite honestly, it's the same type of stories, and these people have no problem doing it, wasting resources. I mean, I have someone very close to me that was actually a victim of ongoing domestic violence and ongoing things, as I'm sure everyone else at least knows someone or was a victim themselves. And it pisses me off that you have people playing a game using resources that are then otherwise not available to the people that are really being hurt. And they're okay with it. It pisses me off.
goes back to earlier this week in the conversation. A lot of these guys in the middle of their emotion, their wives cheated on them or they've done these things. That's when they go and run to these attorneys.
Yep.
And like I said, those attorneys are supposed to be there to decrease the conflict. But if they tell you to reach out when you know better, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to end up being pursued. A lot of these probably custody exchange murders could have been prevented if an attorney said, look, we're limiting contact. These two do not need to be contacting. I've looked at the history of the communication. Nothing good ever happens. Unfortunately, courts, you're not doing anything about it. So I'm calling an emergency right now to say we got to limit the contact between these parents because something bad could happen.
Right.
But you go to them in the middle of that emotion with that anger and everything, or just looking for some answers because my family's falling apart. I'm not able to see my kids. And then when you get there, again, they increase conflict because the more that you fight, the more money they're going to be able to make. And are there attorneys that would do stuff like that? Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And it's just sad, man. Guys, one thing I would say, you're going through these, clear your head. And that could take years to happen, but there is a point, you know, it's like they say, don't get onto your child when you're in the middle of your anger. Cool down. Let's have a talk about it. And then let's get in there. Do what you got to do to get yourself on a level playing field and then go in there where you can think without emotion and you can think strategy, because strategy is what it takes to get somewhere, not emotion. Okay. Right. Emotions, if you are a man, go against you. They do.
What was Melissa Isaac's
emotions win cases for women and they lose cases for men. Emotions go against you. You have a right to be emotional. That's not saying that you shouldn't be angry, that you shouldn't be sad, but it does go against you. No, it's not fair. No. And dude, I can only imagine being one of these guys going through false allegations, having to sit in a courtroom and listen to my ex say that he did this, he did that, he did this. And you know, they are lying. And then not expecting that guy to be like, she's full of crap.
Oh, yeah.
Right, dude?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all orchestrated to maximize, the unfortunate end outcome that it's designed to do, just to keep wearing you down. I got to say to that dad and everyone else out there, stay in the fight and clear your head, take a breather, because I know what you want to write and say, and just go in there. And I think bake some cupcakes.
Yeah. It was the first thing I saw when I went by the comments. Paul's
on it today.
Thank you. Yeah. We need some humor in here.
Yeah, we got. I mean, hopefully it's something that, everyone that's hearing these things that are identifying different things in the voicemails and conversations. For me, it was knowing that it wasn't me personally. It's about the system. It's about making money, destroying lives. And that gave me at least a small bit of comfort knowing it wasn't me. Because again, being accused of something or being told I was worthless or what the court system did, it hurt. It hurt my pride, because I try to be a moral, upstanding. I do things a certain way. That type of person. And to have all these accusations, all that hurt. But when I figured out that it's not me, it was the way the system's designed to work, I did feel a little bit better, because I could attack the real problem, not, oh, they think it's just me. It's, I did this, the false allegations against me, or I've got to fight this, or I've got to fight that. At least knowing that this is common and it's not me personally kind of got me through the day. I don't know. Eric, I don't know. Does that help you, knowing that it's not you, it's the system?
Some. At the other side of it, I can't blame it all on the system. There's somebody over there that feels justified and that they're not doing anything wrong. I think one of the things that's helped me, again, is trying to detach my emotions and rather than hate, because it's easy to hate somebody like that.
Yeah.
Say, maybe they had some trauma in their childhood and there's something there that's preventing them. And if the system actually wanted to decrease conflict, it would help them get help, even though I don't know that there's much help that you can do for somebody like that, because they never are going to realize that they got a problem. But many of these are broken people that are just repeating the cycle themselves. Right. And so you realize you didn't do your homework. You didn't heal. and I got with the wrong person, and it's just so easy to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And so it's all in how you want to look at it. You can feed in and you can put gas on the fire, or you can try to calm it down, say, I got to get my emotions at bay and let me get up with a strategy, because what I've got now is all I'm ever going to get. You know?
Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean,
mean, this may be a trigger for you, but when you were dealing in the conflict, and you would, write a well thought out, reasoned email saying, come on, honey, this is not, this isn't reality. This isn't what happened, and all that. And then it would fire it up, and there's 26 pages coming back at you. I mean, with mine, that was once I figured out what was really going on, the perceived mental issues, the whatever that is, and removed myself from that part of it and started concentrating on what was important. Gray rocking them, one word answers a day afterwards, give myself time to calm down and be logical, and not engaging in that aspect of using my energy for good things. That made it better. I'm assuming that would probably be some of your experience.
oh yeah, man. It's, I'll say it's been therapy just over the past month, putting out these little bits and pieces of my story.
Yeah.
And it's been 4 or 5 years in the making of being able to utter some of this stuff, because it was one of those that there is so much trauma attached to that, Dwayne, that the second I even mention that name or something, I become into a person that I don't
can't
know.
watch a TV show that has a character with my ex's name in it. I have to change.
I understand that one. Trust me. Especially when the credits roll and you see that name. Oh, dude, I've been through it. I'm a lot better now, but at one point in time, it was just one of those, like, I did everything I could do, and I've got to step back because all I'm doing is driving myself crazy.
Yeah. What's that thing about when you hate or whatever, when you're feeding the two wolves? I think is an old saying, like, you figure out which wolf you want to feed.
Which one you want to feed. Absolutely. I love that one, dude. Jameson Brammer on YouTube said, I am dealing with all of this right now. My ex is lying in court, trying to take my kids away from me, coming up with stuff that ain't true. It's sad that what they do when things end. And that's, dude, you bring up a good point. How many times have we heard it? I was a perfect guy. Everything was good until we broke up. Which, I'm not going to say that can be cut and dry, because I'm going to tell you, there was times that a lot of us got with our exes and everything seemed perfect until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't know who in the world I was with. They can flip like a switch.
That was weird.
That's not all just cut and dry, dude. I'm going to tell you, I thought I had the perfect relationship. And a lot of times, like, oh, we're just like each other and everything. And then the next thing is like, you ain't nothing like me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So, and again, we've walked down the aisle a few times. Some of us had deja vu. But with your spouses, were they slow burns, or were they immediate flip the switch?
Dude, every one of them was different. I'll tell you, my marriage, it seemed like everything was perfect until it wasn't. And that was the part that made that one hard to get over, was I was blindsided.
Okay.
Now the second time, because I went and forgave and did all the stuff that Carnell talked about with Cupcake. The second time, I always had my guard up, but I was like, oh, they promised they won't ever do it again. I want to believe them. They'll do it again.
Oh yeah,
they'll do it again. But it was
well, when you say it was it was good until it wasn't, was that like the frog being boiled, like the water kept getting turned up, or was it? I had both. I had my first two. I had the slow burn, and I had the helter skelter. So
I don't want to talk about their health information and stuff like that. I definitely don't look at them in the greatest light, but also I talk about like trauma. I've looked at it and I was like, dude, if you had saw some of the stuff that was going on, you would have known there was going to be red flags later on. A lot of that seems normal to them. It didn't in me. I had the nuclear family. They didn't have that. They was used to going back and forth and seeing some of this. So that felt like home to them. It didn't for me. Okay. But it was, yeah, dude, like it seemed like it was good. And then when I found out, it was just there. But there was more to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think there was some conditions that played into that. And unfortunately, we didn't find out about that until almost after it was over. And that's what, like I said, that's allowed me to look at it in a little bit of a different light. But for a guy that's, dude, we get stuck in our routine. We say we want peace. Okay. So we go and try to find what we think is peace. And then when you get a little bit comfortable, that's where, that's where this thing can really blow up in your face. We just want to be comfortable and feel like everything's okay. And these situations, if you're not on your toes, and when you're in a relationship with this type of person, that's how it sneaks on in there. The second that you get comfortable. And that's why many of these guys don't want to settle down again. Every time I tried to get comfortable or I thought I was okay, this is when this happens. And when you find out like an affair happens, like after it's already been happening for a while, at the point that they're saying, okay, we're done. So now I'm having to contemplate another guy in here. Oh, are they going to take my kid around this guy? Because I'm going to tell you, if there is a man out there that would do this and knowing he's breaking up a family, that does kind of worry me. Like, what would he be like around my kids?
Not the biggest moral compass.
There's a moral compass there that's off.
Yeah.
Because no good guy would want to do this to somebody else, right? So, but you're trying to process all of these emotions at once. And unfortunately, now you got to go into family court in the middle of trying to find out what in the world just happened to me. My world of the past 10 years just blew up. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. I'm still just getting bits and details, but you want me to go fight over the house and the kids.
Yeah.
It can be, devastating for these guys and take them in the middle of that and then say, hey, you're only going to see your kids once every other week or once a month.
Yeah.
Dude, we put so much on our guys and wonder why their mental health is the way it is. Like, how many of these guys have that, time at work when they start going through these issues? Look, man, I haven't been eating. I haven't been sleeping. I am very depressed. It's not that I'm like a manic depressive or whatever. I'm losing my family. I'm having to fight for my kids. Look, I work a job where I've got to drive a truck, or I work a job that could be dangerous, and I haven't been getting any sleep and I haven't been eating, but I still want my job. I've always been a good employee, but right now it might not be safe for me to go there. What protection is it to allow this guy to get healed mentally before he jumps right back in it? There isn't. So now you got to balance all of that back with your work because you got to keep the money coming in. Dude, that was one of the hardest things ever, because the worry doesn't leave you when you go to work. They say one of the worst things you can do if you work a stressful job is bring your job home. But I can say on the other side too, if you got problems at home, you take them to work. And then when you're not there and you feel like you have no control over what they're doing, who they're talking to, maybe they're cheating on you right now. Maybe they're talking to an attorney. They're trying to take your kids away. Are they in my house? What are they doing? And you're just trying to put your attention towards this job. Dude, that can be living hell, Dwayne.
It was. I mean, I think everyone can say it was a living hell.
Yes.
Yeah, you're expected to keep, roof over your head, pay some crazy attorney. You're doing a little bit of research and you're figuring out what's going on. And you're supposed to keep all your stuff together and be normal for everybody else. But your health, it just goes in the crapper. Yeah, Mandalorian right here. And they don't take it seriously. And it's weird that, attorneys in the court system will capitalize on that. Here you got someone that's going through some of the worst things in life. And they're like, how do we make more money on this? Oh, got a great boss there.
Thank you for that, Joshua. See, that's what I said. But we want to hear some of the success stories.
Yeah.
Like, my boss has been so supportive. She gave me extra paid leave for days when I'm not doing well. You know what? I want to give a shout out to my boss at that point in time too, because I did get a little relief on that. I still had to go. I was still doing all those stressful things.
Right.
At the same time, dude. Again, when these problems happen, it's everything at once. My knee went out. I found out there's an affair. Now I'm going through a divorce. Then I wake up the next, week. I go to get something to eat. I just got paid that day. And then my card was getting declined. Somebody in Florida had stole every dollar out of my bank account. Let me tell you how they did it. They went to Walmart and did $50 transactions over and over until I didn't have anything left.
Right.
And my bank told me it was going to be like a month until I could get that money back because they had to investigate it. Dude, I was up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And I remember I came back to work one day, broken man. My boss was always a good friend with me too. And I went to my box where I get my papers and everything at work. And there was an envelope there with $200 in it. And he said,
Wow.
if you need more, let me know.
Wow.
And I said, wow. And dude, he was there. He was kind of like a mentor for me. You know what? Just because our dads pass away doesn't mean, and the reason we miss them so much is we still miss that masculinity. There are times where people come up, and I love the older generation because they can be mentors. In many ways, he was a mentor with me. But I also, if you go back very early on, it was like the first couple of months of Dad Talk, he went through something that I wanted him to share with the audience. I found out his dad went missing. His dad was older. They couldn't find him anywhere. And he went walking in the field one day and found his dad had blew his brains out. He had cancer, and he committed suicide.
Wow.
And his son's the way he found him there. So there was all these different emotions because he was a boss at work, and he was known in the community. Everybody was wanting to know what was going on. And me and him had those one-on-one talks. And I was like, dude, what's it got to be like being a son whose father commits suicide? I want to put you on camera and we're going to talk about this. I was completely green. That was the first really, really, really hard story that I had to do. And we did that in person. Like I said, if you go back to the very beginning of Dad Talk, his name was John Williams. Thank you, John. I just thought about him earlier this week. I need to reach out to him, but there are some good people. But I say, as far as companies, why don't we have something? We give maternity leave. Why can't we make sure that there's something there to protect these guys in times like that? You want them to go work in a job when it's like that, which then again, a business has got to operate.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it is very hard to juggle these things while you're going through this. And you start putting all that on somebody's shoulders, and then every bit of that work that they're doing, that's hard for them to be present for at work. That money is going to feed the attorney and to feed her while she's cheating on you or something like that. Do I know why guys think checking out is a good idea? I know why they contemplate it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It is not. And I don't ever want to see any of you guys do that. We need you here and we need you fighting. But I'm sure those thoughts are pretty common amongst guys going through these situations.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Actually, and this is, I hope, when you're talking and sharing that, it like something I hadn't thought about in years about when I went through mine. And I want to talk about that, but I also want to, like, for the community that's out there, this is what I'm talking about. When you're talking and sharing these things, other people are they're being, invested in it. They're remembering how it applies to them and all that. And it makes them excited therapy, all that stuff to get involved and do stuff.
Well, I hope so. It's the reason why I haven't shared some of this sooner. Right. Because I don't want it to seem like, hey, I'm just here and I'm hung up on somebody. Dude, I'm over that now.
Yeah.
But if you make me go through a journey, look, I was an ice cream man, dude. My job was driving to the store, taking the ice cream and putting it on the shelf. And I did that for many years. I needed something just to be a normal dad. I had my routine. And then my routine out of the middle of nowhere, I found out was a facade. Right. And now I'm facing all this. And I can remember those days where, and I hate to say this because I hope he doesn't see this show, but there was days where I wasn't eating and I hadn't had no sleep, that I'm in a truck and my head is just bobbing, man. But I was out there because I had to be dad. I had to be dad and I had to take care of my family. But those thoughts while I'm sitting there and putting this product on the shelf, these are the thoughts that was going through my head back then. And I still remember them because I replayed them time and time again.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you might not have been doing the same job, but a lot of these emotions that we go through as men are very similar to each other. Yeah. And these are just some of the battles. I've always wondered, like when I was going through that was where I got the idea for Dad Talk, guys. When I was out there doing everything I could, feeling like nothing was working, I was in my work truck going from.
Looks like you froze again. Okay, so he was in his work truck. Let's see, I remember him talking about this offline, but he was in his work truck and he was talking like, he's back.
In the back.
He's back. All right.
All right. So anyway, I'm going down the road in this truck, and I started listening to podcasts because I realized I can get these 2 or 3 hour podcasts and listen to them and learn stuff. But when I started going through this, I started looking up like,
oh, he froze again. I'll try to finish the story, but I'm going to start God, what's her name that sings the song for the sad dogs? You need to support an internet use podcaster that can't afford to get good internet. Your support, $1 a day will do that. But if Eric doesn't come back, he may reboot. But he was in his truck driving over the road, and he's listening to podcasts and other people's podcasts. He's like, wow, if we had a show that people like myself, over the road truckers, and different people that have that are in that line of work, or that have the ability or opportunity to watch podcasts, this is a place they should have it. They should be able to listen to Dad talk. Oh, looks like he's made that decision to reboot. Well, I can tell my story a little bit more there. So okay. Yeah, doesn't want me to let him forget what he was saying. So I've been married total 3 times, and the first one was for 17-ish years, and that was when I talk about the slow burn. It was over time. When I got married, I wanted the picket fence, I wanted to build the empire, I want to do all that, and had ways to get there, and over time, the stuff started happening, and it got to that point. So it was kind of a slow burn. Just every inch that I gave, that was met with oh, okay, that's my new line. I can try whatever. So that was over time. But one of the stories I do remember when Eric was talking about it was when I was going through it. This was a little bit after my father had passed away. And I think I've shared this before, that my mother actually murdered my grandmother. But if you don't know that, you now know it. And then, going through a divorce, I remember, I actually had temporary orders for 50/50, which is important. Get those orders up front for 50/50. Don't wait, no matter what your lawyer tells you. But I was doing that, dealing with all the emotions. I didn't have family to lean on. I had, my one accountability partner, Jeff Parker. Love him like a brother. Love him better than my own brother. But I remember a coworker of mine, Robert Clevenger. I hope he doesn't get mad at me saying it. Him and his wife, for whatever, they'd heard something about on Facebook or whatever. They reached out to me and said, "We want to buy your kids shoes." To try to take just an act of kindness, and they did, and I still have the pictures. I think we still have the shoes saved, because I was at one of my lowest points in my life, trying to keep everything going, and I think we'd been to a Comic-Con together, and we worked together. Actually, him and his wife, I think we all worked at the same location at one point. But they reached out and said, "Hey, look, we felt led. We want to go ahead and buy your kids shoes." And to this day, it's been 8, 9, 10 years. To this day, I remember, and I thanked them for that, because that was one of those things that gave me that one moment to say, wow, someone's doing something. And I guess what I'm trying to get at, and hopefully it's sparked memories for other people, that you don't know other people's battles. You have to, be that light for somebody, because you just don't know what they're going through. They could be going through who knows what, and just a small act of kindness like that, a call, a text, buying them something, do that. And I'm sure I'm thinking, maybe something happened to them. I believe that wasn't their first rodeo either. They were a blended family, so they had kind of been through it, and that's, they were, helping out with that. But, that was kind of a story from the first marriage, and just one of the things that Eric had talked about that really, it sparked a memory with that. Now, my second one, that was an immediate flip the switch, went complete, throw dishes, accusations, screaming, cussing the pastor out. all kinds of stuff. So we had the two there, but I guess what I wanted to capitalize on though was that when you're going through these things, or if you see someone else is going through, sharing and talking about those things, reach out and help them in some way. Text, call, get their kids some shoes, do something like that, and it does make a difference. It all comes around. So Eric, we got you back.
I'm back.
The bad guys at the internet company. I was getting ready to play a Sarah McLachlan song. We should have that in the background. And
another reason why we can get your stars and support in here, guys, so we can get some better internet. Because I tell you, dude, I was paying $200 a month at one point in time for 25 megabyte internet. The internet out here sucks. And because we are a small town, they won't allow any other internet to come in the area.
Yeah, monopoly. Yeah.
It's got like a monopoly. So unfortunately, we're not going to let it shut us up. There's going to be challenges. But I remember what I was talking about, and it almost feels like a spiritual attack sometimes. Just when you're about to make a point, that's when it gets cut. I remember those days, Dwayne, of barely being able to hold my head up, and I don't know how I made it through. And that's not trying to give myself a pity party. I have no idea how I made it through. I was not sleeping. I was not eating. Again, I lost 60 pounds in a matter of like 2.5, 3 months, dude.
Yeah.
I was the skinniest I'd ever been, and my head would just be bobbing. So I'm listening to these podcasts, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm all alone. I don't feel like I've got anybody to talk to. My whole life, most of the time, is work right now. Is there anybody out there that can relate to me? And so I started looking up podcasts for parental alienation, for father's rights, for divorce. There wasn't anything, man.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything. So what happened is, in the middle of that, I kept feeling alone because I didn't know that you guys was there. What did I end up doing? I ended up finding some of these parental alienation groups, started reading up on some of the stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, this makes sense. At the same time, hurt people hurt other people. I saw the drama because I was an outsider at one point in time coming into the movement for the first time. I saw the infighting. I saw the hurt people hurting other people. And I'm like, there's a lot of good information here, but what do we do? And so that's when the idea started going, like, you could do a podcast. But remember, I had that confidence issue. I just got cheated on, man. I'm an ice cream man. I drive a truck. Now you don't have a family. You don't have all these things. You get all these things that make you doubt yourself. Like, how in the world am I going to do a podcast? I don't know the first thing about doing video. I don't know the first thing about microphones. But, dude, it just kept eating away at my soul. And then after me and my wife got married, she was so supportive of everything I'd done. And one night, I'm telling you, man, I just had this idea. It came. I was like, I want to do dad talk. I want to do dad talk. We need something where dads can talk. And I went to GoDaddy, like many of us do. Dad Talk was $2,500 to get dadtalk.com. And I was like, there is no way. But down in the suggested was Dad Talk Today, $9.99. And I went to my wife, and I knew it sounded crazy. I was like, baby, I know I'm about to lose my job because they're selling out and everything, but I'm really into podcasts, and I think I could be good at it. Like, I can't tell you that I will for sure, and I know this sounds like a crazy idea, but I think I can do it. And I think there's people out there that would like to listen to it. So what are you going to talk about? I was like, one, parental alienation has got to be going on more than anybody can imagine. I've seen it in these groups. Parental alienation is a big problem. Do I think we're going to be able to carry the podcast on that? No. I'll talk about some other things. I'll talk about dieting. It'd be like the dad version of Joe Rogan or something like that, right? And so she was like, if that's what you want to do, I believe in you. Dude. And it was like, man,
your wife is awesome.
If I would have been with anybody else, it would not have happened. Because we had those times where I don't know that I could have been that supportive, but she was that supportive. And
isn't it awesome?
I bought the website for $10, and then I started the Facebook, and I started doing the memes, no different than what we're doing now. Yeah. I'm telling you guys, I kept saying the podcast is coming. The podcast is coming. Dude, by the time we did the first podcast, there was around 10,000 followers.
Wow.
And, I said, okay, we might be onto something here. I still tried to do the dad talk version of Joe Rogan in the beginning. But after that first episode of Parental Alienation, I saw these guys saying, finally, we got a platform for us. Yeah. And I want to apologize to some of you guys if you've been there since the beginning. I, like many other people, started getting a little blue pilled and thinking, oh, I might not need to talk about fathers' rights so much. It's not just about dads. Maybe I do need to be parent talk, and all those people trying to get into my head. And I got a little bit more neutral with the message. And I'm telling you, that day, man, that day I saw where these feminists always come in and try to shut these guys up. And this girl kept saying, and moms too, and moms too, and moms too. And the guy get on there and he said, look, I'm not trying to be mean, but you got thousands of other places you can go and do what you're doing right now. This is the one place that we can come and feel like we're allowed to talk. And I was like, you son of a, you know what? I was like, you do not turn your backs on these guys.
Yeah.
You don't go neutral. It is a war on dads. And it has been a war on dads for a very long time. Part of the reason that we're going through the crap that we're going through right now is too many people have been scared.
Yeah.
Talk about dads. Even this movement, they're always apologizing like, well, we know what happens to moms too. Stop that crap. There is nowhere out there that we're saying all moms or that we are bashing women. We are talking about cupcake because there are a lot of cupcakes out there that are and they're baking
Don't
more.
like it, don't be one.
They're baking more every single day.
Oh, yeah.
We have got to stop. Yes. Thank you, Kim. Stop the war on dads, because these kids, their lives depend on it. Look at the fatherless statistics. Look at where they're at now. Imagine if we keep going as a society, the rate that we're going now, what it's going to be in 10 or 20 years from now. Eventually, the war on masculinity could be the thing that ends the world as we know it.
Yeah. You look at the data, look at the numbers. Yeah. It's not tinfoil hat stuff. And we're already seeing the data now. I mean, guys are checking out. We're done. It's happening.
But I remember talking to Jennifer Reed when she came to speak at Lubbock. That was the first time she had done a conference or anything. She's like, oh my God, I am so scared. I am so nervous. And I know she got really depressed because, it was a controversial night in many aspects. But we talked afterwards and she was like, oh my God, you just do this so well. Maybe I'm not a speaker or anything. I was like, you did really well. Yeah. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, let me share something with you. You want to know what happened on my first podcast, Dwayne? Dude, you know that feeling you get when you go to get on a roller coaster you're not so sure about, and your palms and everything start sweating, and then your shoes start. Dude, I was doing that, sweating bullets, getting lightheaded. I was having a panic attack. Yeah. I was like, but you believe in it. You got to do it. And that happened for at least like a year. Yeah. Going into that, because we were going into territory the guys haven't been allowed to talk about, right? And so when you talk about being in an ice cream truck or your head nodding or somebody having an affair, and we were going into territory that had not been explored yet. Yes, we knew it was happening, and there were some stuff out there, but there wasn't a show completely dedicated to talking about this all the time. Right. And so I didn't know how it was going to be received. Is this just going to be the guy that, comes on here and rattles off? And that's why I tried to make it as least about my story as possible, because I didn't want people to think I was on here for me. Right. It's what I wish I would have had when I was going through it. But I knew my brothers was out there, and you guys are. Yeah. This is your platform, man. I am only here right now because I believe in it and because of you. There's been many times I've wanted to turn my back and leave this. I will not. I can't. Once you've been red pilled, dude, there's no going back to the blue pill.
Yeah, once you've officially taken that red pill, you just can't go back. I mean, there is no way to do that.
Once you go red, you're there till you're dead.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you share some of your stories, though, it lets these guys and girls know that, one, they're not alone, and they can identify with that. It makes you real, because you get these guys, these people on there, and they're talking the good talk, and they're, whatever. Well, okay, when you went, to Maryland, or when you've been in different places and you sit down and you talk to different people of different backgrounds, and you're like, I can identify with your particular struggle. When you talk to a divorced dad, I can relate to your struggle. You build that. There's strength there. But if you go ahead.
Something I want to mention on the podcast is I saw somebody was like, Eric, what are you doing when you lean your head down? I saw you doing something there a second ago, Dwayne. It's not something we want to brag about, but we're both vapors.
Yeah.
And I try to keep that off the screen. dude, even that's been used against me. I've seen where he encourages kids to vape and do all these other. That is such baloney, dude. Such baloney. It's not something I'm like, hey, bruh, check out what I can do. So I've tried to lean my head off the screen, but when I get in my emotions, it's one of the last vices I've got. Okay,
Yeah.
we're just going to be as open and transparent as we can with you guys. But
I'm more loud and proud.
Are you loud and proud of it?
I'm loud and proud with my Space Pink lemonade. It tastes good, and I know it's bad for me. It's better than when I used to. I was what, a 20-year smoker, 17-year smoker.
Too.
I quit for 10, 14 years, had a little bit of whatever, went back to smoking, quit again, thankfully. And then this is kind of that. I'd love to quit, but this is a reason. Don't get started.
Well, this goes with that, the dad talk, and then like how these different things can come in to throw you off course. I was a smoker for about 20 years.
Okay.
I was a Marlboro Reds guy.
Cowboy Killers.
Yep. I had the Cowboy Killers, and I quit. I started vaping around like 2011, 2012. I've been quit for like 5 years. But right before I went through a divorce, we went on a cruise. We met some people. They were awesome, dude. They were from Canada. And dude, have you ever seen a Canadian pack of cigarettes? I can remember sitting there with him while they was smoking, because I was just, I hit it off with the patriarch, man, the older guy. He was giving me all the knowledge, and I always identify with that older generation. But we're sitting here, and he was like, check out our cigarettes. They have like a picture of somebody with like oral cancer on there. It's like, and this is what you smoke. And I'm like, holy crap, we got the Surgeon General warning, but could you imagine seeing the meth mouth every time you go to open up a pack of cigarettes? But later on that night, I went to get on the elevator, and there was a brand new pack of Marlboro Reds sitting on the ground. I've been quit for like 5 years, and I picked it up thinking, man, that's a brand new pack of cigarettes. I'm going to go give it to my new buddy. So the next day I go to give it to him. He's like, oh, we don't touch American cigarettes. No, we don't want that. He's like, I don't want that. So in my mind is, I still know some buddies that smoke back home. I'll just give it to somebody when I get home.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I come home and I put that pack on the counter, hoping to give it away, and I forgot about it. Fast forward a year, I start going through my divorce battle. I haven't ate. I haven't slept. I haven't done anything. I just, dude, I wanted to give up. And I was outside doing some yard work one day, and I walked in and I saw that pack of Marlboro Reds sitting there, and I said, screw it, man. One cigarette hurt me. I was just like, I'm going to smoke cigarette. I found out my spouse had been smoking behind my back, had never smoked. But when they got in that, she had started smoking. So I was like, I'm going to light me up a cigarette. That ended up being 3 more years of getting back into smoking.
Yep.
But if I never would have allowed that into my house, if I would have saw that and said, I don't want anything with it, I would have never. But it was that way. I allowed something into my house that I knew once upon a time was a weakness. Right. Yeah. And so once I got off of that, I started vaping, and I said, dude, it might not be the best thing in the world for me, but it's my one vice I've got left. And that's it. That's my story. So anyway, I am so glad, dude. I was sitting with the kids the other day inside of a Burger King. And I said, this Burger King looks exactly like it did when I was a kid. However, back then, the whole place would have been filled with cigarette smoke and little metal ash.
Oh, yeah.
And they
was one of them.
Are you serious? They was like, they let you do that in there? I was like, yeah. And I remember when they first quit that, Dwayne, and said you couldn't do that inside anymore. I was pissed. As a smoker, I was pissed.
Yeah.
Dude, I cannot imagine going in somewhere to eat and just smelling that now, dude. Because even when I was a smoker, I went outside and smoked. I didn't do it in the house. I was the guy that went outside. But man, dude, how much time has changed? There are some things that change for the better. I mean, dude, do you remember being in with the older generation, one of them old Bonnevilles or Oldsmobiles or something, and they're just doing the chain smoking, and we're little kids just sitting there playing with our Ninja Turtles and stuff? We didn't think about it. Dude, you could smoke inside Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, yeah.
And you could drink a beer back then. So, some things have definitely changed.
I mean, my dad, he was a cool Filter King guy. And, I'd be like, oh, Dad, it's getting a little bad in the pickup. And he'd crack that triangle window. He was like, there you go, son. We got you taken care of. Yeah. But it's one of those vices. But, I mean, you kind of bring up a good point, though, is over the decades, the thinking on smoking has changed. I mean, doctors used to prescribe smoking as a cure all back in the day. I'm assuming you knew. Yeah, no, they. It was. I mean, if you go back and look at the ads, and they talk. That was if you had a cough or something, you would smoke a cigarette to fix it, and all these other things. Of course, losing weight and all that. But over the decades, the thinking on that has changed. That's something like for this whole movement, changing the narrative, changing the thinking.
We used to have cocaine in our Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I had an old timer that had some of them old Coke bottles not long ago, and he showed me the back of one I had never seen. It said decocanized.
Decocanized.
Because that was when it very first started getting back out of it. It was like, wow, dude. But I mean, that begs to differ. There's definitely some progress that we've made as far as this generation. That's one that I would think. At the same time, could you imagine these kids with social media and everything else? And not just that, dude, relationships. Maybe you got one of those women and you've been blue pilled and she likes attention. So now she wants to try on all her different outfits and show it off to everybody on her friends list. Yeah. But no, I'm comfortable. I'm safe in my relationship. That's not what it is. I just like dressing up and I like doing that. If you're comfortable and safe, you don't need that attention.
Yeah.
Am I preaching to somebody here?
I'm preaching to me.
I mean, if you're comfortable and you're safe, and I'm going to be honest with you, dude, once you've been red pilled and I think you get to where you need to, no matter how good it looks, no matter how blessed they are in the back end, that stuff just ain't attractive, man.
No. Yeah.
It is not attractive.
Putting your bobs out there. I mean, that's something, Facebook and all that. I mean, I pop it up and it's got nothing but that. And I'm like, I don't want to see this crap. I mean, I think I've mentioned before, I use Pi-hole, which is a ad blocking service. I'm going in there blocking that type of stuff so my Facebook feed doesn't have that nonsense on it.
Dude, it's the reason I haven't been on TikTok.
Oh,
I remember when I signed up, and I still don't like TikTok, but I remember going over to TikTok to see what was going on. Everybody kept saying it's a way for you to advertise the podcast, and it is. There is people that... Unlike any other platform, you can put up a video tomorrow, you'll be what they call TikTok famous. And there's a lot of people that go after that. I was just like, dude, no. At the same time, like I scrolled through, I think 7 out of 10 of the videos, there was a girl twerking in the camera.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this, man. I can't. Now, you know what? We've got some videos over there, but I'm not on that platform. We've been putting some of the reels and different stuff on there. But I mean, look at how that's influencing, again, our kids. And, I want to take this back to the men. Yes, there is a lot of those women doing that on the screen, but are you consuming it? Right. Are you the consumer? They're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for you guys. And you guys are the consumer. If we start stepping up and saying, we don't like that type of woman, maybe things could change, Dwayne. So, I mean, we just got to have a balance when we're talking about these problems, right? Yeah. I know that's very unpopular, but it's true.
And especially as I get older, I mean, there's a joke that goes around. It's like, I don't want to be hanging out with these younger women. I want a woman that recognizes signs of a heart attack and a stroke and glaucoma and all that. That's the woman I want now that can recognize those signs. Yeah, I mean, talking to the guys, I mean, you nailed it, though. The only reason that stuff's out there is because people are consuming it. Those girls sees the million likes and it feeds that ego. And like it or not, that's where we're at today, feeding that ego. Guys, stop doing it.
I've seen it happen with Father's Rights. They'll show up and dress half naked to talk about Father's Rights. And these guys will eat it up. Oh, thank you for speaking up for us. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
come on, man.
Like my wife, you talk about my bride here, the thing I, find, sexy about her and the things that make me love her more. I love the way she looks. Don't get me wrong.
Good job, Emmanuel.
But, having conversation, her heart, how she communicates, her giving nature, when, how she handles pressure, the conversations we have, those are the things that I find most attractive about her. And again, she's a good looker. Don't get me wrong, but those are the things that, I mean, that's that daily. I mean, she, for whatever reason, finds me funny. So I got that going for me. But
Well, you remember our parents' generation talking about us and how scary it was, and now we've kind of stepped in to
Yeah.
our parents' shoes. What's funny is like when I get in touch with my mom and some of my family, the older family, above 60, 70, that grew up in that era, and they start talking about how women are supposed to act and how women don't approach guys and all these different things. And I have to sit there and tell them all the time, the era that you think you remember is no longer here.
Yeah, not here at all. Yeah,
they're waking up to some of it, but it was like, they were programmed. I don't want to say programmed. They were just brought up in a completely different way back then versus now. Dude, I see a lot of the moms encouraging that behavior on TikTok and social media. They want people looking at their daughters like that. Dude, if I saw my daughter doing some of that crap on TikTok as a dad, I would have a fit. I wouldn't
Honestly,
want my son doing it either.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the stuff that, well, again, getting rid of all the dads. I mean, I don't know how a mother would be okay with their child out there twerking, not for stars like I will do it, but
only dads.
Yeah, only dads. Yeah. But then being okay with it and encouraging it. They're like, you go, girl, you do this. I mean, what does that say? It's, I don't.
I think it's no different. We talk about Munchausen's, right? A lot of times they'll talk about these sicknesses in order to be able to get attention on themselves, sicknesses with their kids. Well, this is no different. There's a lot, dude. All right, let's preach. Here we go. Write this one down. This has got to be a future topic on Dad Talk. There is a lot of these women who will try to relive their childhood through their kids. God. Have you seen this? They will try to make their child the version of who they wanted to be.
Yeah,
I got it right. That's a real.
That's at the very least. Yeah, that's time that 1:41 and 50 seconds.
Yes. Yeah, I don't. Again, it takes us doing what we're doing right now, sometimes not knowing where we're going to get these things and find out. Ooh, I wonder how many. I know these guys are relating to that. How many of you see your ex trying to make your child little versions of themselves, trying to get them multiple piercings when they're young, or coloring their hair and all this different stuff, dressing them like them, trying to make them into the same things. Your job is to raise a child that knows how to take care of themselves and to so that they can live life after they leave the house, not to make a mini version of you.
Right. Yeah. How hard is that?
It's not, but it's happening. And we see it happening all the time.
Do you think, though, maybe they're justifying their own bad behavior through?
I think sometimes. I had a talk with one of my exes not long ago, a disagreement on what a child should be able to do and what they shouldn't. And she's like, Eric, we did it when we were kids. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Do you see what happened in my life? I know I did some stuff, and I don't talk about it with pride. I do it because I never want to repeat that mistake, and I know what it did to me. You think I'm just going to say, well, I did it when I was a kid, so baby, you can do it too. My job as a dad to say, look, you have the ability to do what you want to do. But me as a father, your father, I didn't listen to my parents, and I know what that got me.
Yeah.
If you go down this path, this is what could happen. Unfortunately, again, you got somebody over there encouraging the behavior. It's okay. We all do it.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you want to get into a very unpopular conversation? Very, very unpopular.
Let's do it.
Nowadays, we heard of these things, especially in middle school and high school, called virgins. I think it's almost been accepted that is something we don't really see now. It's good. Dude, the body count used to be how many people died at a murder scene. Now it's how many people have you been with? And it's a very popular term.
Yeah. Well, I graduated in 1990, to give you an idea of my age. And we had, I think, one girl in the school that was pregnant, and it was oh my God, my kids, it's normal. It's a normal thing. I mean, girls are having pacts where like 5 of them will get together and they have a pact to all get pregnant at the same time at 14, 15 years old. And I hear about this stuff and I'm like, what in the hell are you thinking?
You know what? I mean, show this to your sons right now. And then we need to, here's another conversation. What should we be telling our boys? We know once you hit that age that there's one thing on your mind. And you know what? That's kind of nature by design because that's what we've got to do to procreate. You're supposed to be attracted to that. But I go back to middle school, man, when a girl would get up to talk in front of the class and stuff, drove me nuts. Okay. What you're feeling is normal. Okay. At the same time, if you go to fulfill that need and you do it with the wrong person, if you do it at all, especially at a young age, here are some of the consequences. Here are some of the red flags that you need to be watching out. Why are we not preparing our boys for what they could be going through? We also need to make sure that they're not becoming the very ones that we're talking about and providing more to the problem, right?
Right.
And sometimes they can provide to the problem too. I am no idiot. I know years ago there was many men that ran out on the home and they were deadbeats and they just went with any woman that they can. Dude, the story of George Jones just came out. My mom was watching that the other night. I was like, I don't even want to see that, dude. Walked up in there in the middle of like a supper with this lady who was married and told the man, I want your wife. And he got her. I think it was Loretta Lynn. I could be saying that wrong, but I was just like,
Wow.
dude, what kind of trash is that? Like, I don't want to glorify that. I don't want to see that on TV. But there were many men that were dogs years ago. Nowadays, it has really taken a turn. Okay. And our boys need to know here are some of the traps that you can fall through. This is the way you're supposed to treat women, but this is also how we want women to treat you. And here's some of the ways that they can treat you. Let me give you some of the red flags. How many, like, when me and Carnell was talking the other day, what was the conversation? My wife left me and the kids for a new man.
Right.
We said there was going to be several things that would happen. And as we did that episode, we ended up getting a caller that verbatim went in the same order, said this, and this happened. There's many of those red flags, and there's many parts of that process that you could explain to them so they can catch it until now I'm finding out what you were trying to say.
Right.
Give them the red flags, guys.
Yeah. I mean, with my oldest son, he's 21 now, dating a girl. Some of his relationships before, he's like, Dad, the girl's doing this. And I'm like, red flag on the play. I mean, and, he's going through that. Of course, he's got his, he's living the life right now. But, yeah, teaching these kids because, I'm sure it's in other states, but in Texas, they have a program they teach boys and girls on that topic. It's not sex education. It is how to pay child support.
Oh, we're going to go into dangerous territory here.
Okay.
All right, let's look at our media. When I keep talking about this culture,
God.
Did any of you guys see that movie Cuties? I didn't watch
No.
it, but I knew what it was about. Why do you think they do stuff like that? There was another movie. I can't remember the name of it. I don't want to, and I don't want to promote it, but it's talking about like a child that's gay and bi. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have something after that, your quiz that your kids can take to find out if that's what they are. Could you imagine if I was gay or if I was bi saying I have to take a test to find out if that's what I am? Why would they do something like that? Did we have to take a test to find out if we were straight? No. But little stuff like that, guys, and it has made its way inside of our education system, and it's been there for a while. I think it used to be more pointed towards the colleges, but all of that indoctrination has really made it all the way down to the very bottom, and it's scary because that's another thing. As much as I say I don't support the family court system, I really don't support the public education system.
Oh, no.
I've seen both sides of that, though, because just as we talk about the women who will use breastfeeding and all these different things to keep the kid away from the dad, I've seen homeschooling be used as the way that I can't work a job and I got to keep them away from dad.
Oh, yeah.
So that every little thing can get used against you. And so I definitely had different thoughts on homeschooling and stuff, but now they need to be learning from their parents. And you know what? It'd be a good idea if they was learning from both.
Because I was going to jump in with that.
Yeah, they need both sides. Why is it got to be one? They need to learn from mom. They need to learn from dad, because both of them are going to give lessons to these kids that they desperately, desperately need.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I mean. Yeah, we've offloaded as parents. We've offloaded education, and nothing brought that home more than the thing that happened a couple of years ago, where a lot of kids were brought in and zooming into school. But we should be reading what our kids are learning and challenging. Not to brag, but my oldest son, I won't even talk about the course and all that stuff, but he was learning certain things in high school. And I sat down and I said, all right, son, here's what the book's saying. Here are some challenges to that. Bring that up in class. They actually, after my son doing that, they said, okay, we're not going to teach this chapter or this series of chapters anymore. There's so much stuff on it. I mean, that's something I would encourage parents to do. I mean, when we had the pandemic, and I hate to even call it a pandemic, but anyway, I'll stop there. But our kids came home and we largely offloaded, but a lot of parents got to see what was going on with what their kids were being taught every day by watching these Zoom courses. And you're like, no wonder they're messed up. I mean, the stuff that you're trying to teach. I still remember my dad, Vietnam vet, and we had in our history course, they were talking about Vietnam. And I came home with my history book and he's like, let me take a look at that. And he started reading through that and said, I'm having an appointment with your teacher tomorrow and the principal. And that old man went there and gave them an earful because his experience was slightly different than what the books were teaching.
What, dude, this past year, last year, they tried to get my daughter in sex ed. And then this year again, they said they had to send a form home to get consent from the parents. And I read through it and I looked at it and said, nope, you're not doing it. And she was like, what? I was like, nope. She was like, I'm afraid I'll be by myself. I was like, that's okay. She later came home and was like, Daddy, thank you so much. She was like, I got to sit in the library and I got to read other books, but I was the only one. And I said, no, anything you need to learn about that is going to be your parents teaching you.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a situation where I think they overstep. I don't know what they're teaching you in there about that. If you got any questions, and I've already had the talks with my kids, and I'm going to be honest with you, dad of all girls, I had the talk very, very early. I gave them more details as they got older, but I said, look, there is a way that I want you to be treated. There is things I don't want to happen to you. And this is what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I do not look back on that. Used to, we would have waited until around puberty to have talks with those kids. Dude, I don't know if you can do it early enough now.
Yeah. They're hitting them at 4 years old now. It's ridiculous. With the whole, sex ed, and all that. Well, you know what? If the government process is working, why do we have so many unplanned teenage pregnancies? If it was working, we wouldn't have that problem, would we?
Well, they don't have dads. Isn't that one of the number one statistics for fatherlessness is teen pregnancy?
That's weird. Yeah, that is a very high number.
And if we want to get better with our education system, our kids can't even go to school without worrying about mass shootings now. Can you imagine that has become so common that when we see those headlines, it's not as shocking as it was when Columbine happened, right? These are places that they are going to be educated. And we as parents thought our kids were safe while we were at work because we do have to go provide, right? Yeah. And that's why I say, like, you could get both sides in there and find a way to do it for sure. Manuel Martinez, he brought up a great comment on Facebook. He said, sex is sold to be cool. Yep. Growing up, we made fun of virgins. We have to flip the script. I am guilty. I was a part of that it was made fun of me when I was, and then I was the other side of it too. Dude, I mean, I watched the movie the other night. Maybe I shouldn't have 40-year-old virgin or 41-year-old virgin, just because my wife got this crazy idea over the holiday. My brother-in-law came over and they waxed his back. Okay. He's very hairy. And all I could hear in the other room was, get Eric to do it too. Get Eric to do it too. And I was like, shut up. I was like, shut up. But finally I was like, okay, it is getting a little hairy. Man, dude, I don't suggest that to anybody. Have you ever had that done, Dwayne?
Shape? No, but the missus does bring out the lawnmower every week or so. Yeah, with the Captain T shots that I get, that has actually has brought me back to puberty. I get zits. I got like oily face. I got like.
Do you wake up like you did in school?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I was going to make a joke about how when the girl walks up to answer the question, then they always say, all right, Dwayne, why don't you go up and finish that question? I'm like, nah, I'll take the F. I'm not standing up. Not happening.
Dude, I mean, we've made a stigma about talking about stuff like that, really. Yeah. Because if we do over being sexual or we're being this, dude, we're being human. There is a lot of these things again that is nature, and when nature calls, you know, we go through it. But as we get older, you start losing that testosterone. It doesn't work like it once did. And I think many men think that they're alone in that because we haven't been encouraged to speak about that. We've got to encourage our guys to start getting prostate exams. We got to start encouraging our guys to get vasectomies. Okay. I want
for victory.
Dude, there should be a vasectomy program out there that wants to sponsor dad talk, you know, prevention is better than the cure.
I'll tell you all about mine. It's not a big deal.
No dude, I haven't even done it.
No pun intended. Like it's not a big deal. Okay, look. My first wife, when I got the vasectomy, I drove home from my own vasectomy in a stick shift truck. If I can do that, anybody can do it. It's not what everyone makes it out to be. But I'll tell you one thing. When I went to get mine scheduled, they actually had to talk to my then wife about it. It's really weird how, like, you know, they don't want, I couldn't just get one unilaterally. I had to basically get my wife's permission to do it.
Dude, I want to hit on a comment. We got several comments. I'm going to get to them, guys. Right. But Larry Hayes, he said, my biggest thing, I always told my girls, these boys are only out for one thing. They'll do everything to try to get you drunk.
Purple passion.
Dude, let me tell you something. That goes both ways. There is many of those girls that will rope him in, try to get him pregnant, try to do everything because they don't want him to leave. At one point in time, would I have had more of that view? Yes. But I'm going to tell you, did you hear those girls that I was talking to from Clemson? And they said, the guys aren't even pursuing us anymore because they've been told that they're toxic. So they're even afraid to ask us out. Yeah. And guess what's happening? Back in our mom's days, that was another thing. My mom said, I'll never ask a guy out. I'll never be the one that calls him. He has to pursue. He has to pursue. It is not that way anymore. And there's many of these things that they think because of this, I can trap them and I can get them where I want them. So girls need to know not to use that as a career, for one, and to get what they want. Another conversation that we can have on the show one day, we just keep naming all these future episodes, is how there is women that will use their God-given talents to get what they want out of a man. That's his reward. Yeah, instead of it being you got in a committed relationship and this is what husband and wife does, and we use intimacy as a way to get closer and to build our relationship. No, I use this to get the money. I use this for you to do what I want you to do, and then it becomes a reward and something held over your head. And guess what? Men have the desire to have sex, Dwayne. Can you imagine that? We have a desire to have sex, and women do too. But should that desire be like a job? If I marry somebody and I do that because that's who I want to live with, that's my partner. And at the end of the night, if nature's still working for you like it did back in high school and you want to do it, who are you supposed to do it with? Your spouse. Yeah. Right? Should we tell him the only way you get that is if you earn it? Marriage is a two-way street, man. Yeah. There's going to be times where you don't want it and then they don't want it. And dude, there's times that guys don't want it either. Okay?
Yeah, let's be real.
Let's be real. There's times like, as you could have never said that to me when I was in my teens or my 20s or whatever, when I was in the 30s and you get on there's going to be times it's like, man, I've got work. I've got all these other stuff on me. And it seems like, is it crazy? I'm curious. It seems like I said, those first 30 years, most of the time it's the guy, he's ready to go. And then after 30, that one starts turning around too. It can start going the other way. Mm-hmm. And we've got to understand our partner has needs. We got together with each other. Let's find some common ground to where we can make sure both sides are happy. And the last thing that needs to be used as a negotiation tool is your relationship and your intimacy. Yeah. Right.
That's a big one. No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, there are days. I mean, oh, you just got that.
Oh,
I'm dropping these little.
I bit my lip because I was going to say something about that, but no.
I mean, I was going to use the whole laundry thing and loads of laundry, but I'm sure everyone on here knows that old joke.
Well, you know, I've heard lots of different stuff, but look, once you go tan, there's no other man.
Oh God!
Oh, it's horrible, dude. It's horrible, and it's not true. I just sat there and told you all the stuff from the past, but it was my moniker, right? I feel like McLovin on Superbad right now.
McLovin on Superbad. I love that movie. Oh, that is great.
Mia Lynn Overton Mornow. I hope I said that right. She said, I taught my boys that while God made them to be attractive to a girl, this wasn't the time of their lives to pursue that yet. Neither of my adult boys ever pursued a girl other than the girls they're married to now. And
Wow.
dude, I think that is absolutely beautiful.
I
awesome. Think that is absolutely beautiful. And that's the way it should be. We can take that, which has been made uncommon, and make it common. And then that what's common and make it uncommon again. Right. Yeah. Because at one point in time, it was uncommon and now it has become common. Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's all about remember when I talked about that pack of Marlboro Reds that I allowed in my house?
Yeah.
That I had been quit smoking for years. And I said, I'll never want that. I allowed it in my house. And when temptation came, there it was. And I would say that to a lot of you guys too. If you're out there and you got a spouse, make sure to put this in there. You need to do equal work. You need to listen to their needs and they need to listen to yours. And at the same time, make sure that if you got something that's bothering you or something isn't right in the relationship, that you're telling it to your spouse and not your friend or a coworker.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. Yeah. I think that's a big one, right? And leave your problems off of social media. It's like now, if something happens with my spouse, hey, I got to go take a poll on Facebook. How many people agree with my position?
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? They might not know the whole story, guys.
Yeah. Usually those little facts or little pieces of information they're left out. My ex-wife did that a few times. And I'm like, yeah, you left out a few parts.
Mine too.
It's kind of how that goes. It's that getting all that stuff. Yeah, no, I mean, we ought to talk about. I mean, we talked about this before. We should talk about all kinds of things. I mean, if you ever want to know about vasectomies, testosterone, and again, testosterone replacement therapy isn't just about that area. For men, when you lose that natural testosterone, you lose the ability to grow muscle.
Tired
to maintain.
Man.
You're
Don't
tired.
Have any energy. That's
your well-being. Yeah, no energy. All those things are in there when you naturally lose that and that replaces it, and you get back. I mean, are you gaining weight for no reason? Are you lethargic? Do you just feel sad, depressed even? That's probably, if you're over 30 especially, that's probably it. I'm not going to mention names, but I know someone that's 21 that is on testosterone. I think that's a whole other thing about what society is doing as far as putting stuff in our food supply, but that's a whole different tinfoil hat thing. But yeah, we can get into all that if you want to, but I wear many tinfoil hats.
But no, let's be honest, dude. This is dad talk. These are conversations that these guys need to be having, right? I am the hypocrite. There's many things that go into that testosterone going lower and making sure you're sleeping, making sure you're working out, making sure you're eating right, and all these things. You can't out-train a bad diet.
Nope.
I've tried because I hate vegetables. God, I hate them. I wish that I could lose weight eating just pizza, because I tell you, I'd be one of the skinniest people on the face of this earth. I could do it every day. Yeah. Why isn't there a bread diet? That's what I want to know. Why isn't there a bread diet?
Well, you know what? I've been eating it's not protein bread. It's actually at Walmart for like $4 a loaf, which is probably getting close to the other stuff. But it's I can't remember the name of it now, but it's like a protein bread. It's one carb. It tastes mostly like bread, and it's become my new best friend.
Dude, they make one of those at Aldi's too.
Yeah.
I tried it, man. It was like my mouth saying, this ain't right.
I got to send to the one I'm getting at Walmart. It's close. I mean, yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, last night, the wife made me 10 o'clock at night. She goes, I want a bologna sandwich. And I'm like, yeah, that was going to smack. Yeah.
That's crazy. Brandy, my wife, just said that last week out of the middle of nowhere. Hasn't ate one in years. She's like, I saw her standing in the meat aisle, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, it's crazy, but I've been wanting a bologna sandwich. I can't stand bologna. I grew up in the era of the fried bologna, in the area where that was a big thing, and potted meat and all that other stuff. No, get it away. Get it away from me. I don't want to eat it. But Subway, I've wanted to try this. Has anybody tried it? Because you see all this stuff on internet and it says, oh, this tastes amazing. This tastes amazing. And then you get there and you put it in your mouth and like, What the hell is this? It tastes like ass. they got this thing now called Miracle Bread that is supposed to have like 1 carb in it.
Okay.
And then if you put the meat and the cheese on that, you're basically looking at a low carb Subway sandwich. And they say it tastes just like the real thing. Anytime somebody's told me it tastes like the real thing, though, it's been an outright lie. So I'd love to hear from some of you guys. It's just like people that said you can't tell no difference in a cauliflower crust on a pizza.
Yeah.
What kind of pizza have you been eating?
Yeah.
If that's what you think pizza is, no wonder you don't think this life is great. I
Yeah.
can show you all these different pieces, but they don't taste like that. Cauliflower does not taste like real pizza, dude. By
Yeah,
no means.
We tried
Neither does
getting
Miracle
on-
Bread.
Yeah, we've tried those different things throughout the years, and the cauliflower on anything or that spaghetti, that fake spaghetti, linguine, or I don't know what.
Shirataki. Now, I do have a good substitute for noodles. Have you ever had carbonara? It's not
I've not.
completely. It is not completely without carbs, but it's called
Right.
carbonara. You can get it in a Publix. You probably get it in a Kroger where you're at. That tastes just like the real thing, and
Really?
and better. The
Huh.
problem is it's not completely low carb,
Well,
but it'll save you a lot of carbs
It'll-
by eating carbonara. It's really good company too. You know what, guys? I want to do something a little bit different here. They don't see this. Cheryl said that needs to be a real Eric. What kind of pizza are you eating? Hey, I could do that. You know, here I am busting my butt, Dwayne. I'm losing my internet, all these other things going, and we do what we can for this community. And then I see Dave Portnoy, El Presidente, and all he does is take a cell phone and go around the world and try different pizza and then score it. And he gets millions and millions and millions of views.
you're in the wrong business.
I am in the wrong business because I could do that and I would never get tired of it, man. I would never get tired of it. But I want to bring this back around, and I want some audience participation on this.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that bust their butt for this movement. And you're never going to see them on here because they're not worried about screen recognition. They put me up there and say, you go do that. But they
Right.
work just as hard, if not harder, sometimes
Harder.
than the
I know
guys
you're
that
talking
you're gonna
about.
put on the screen. And she's down there commenting right now. Would you guys say a thank you, Cheryl, for me? Because she has
Cheryl
been a blessing
is-
for me. If it wouldn't have been for her
Hmm.
back 3 months ago, or well, it's 4 months ago now, when I got super, super sick, I had to step away from Dad Talk. The
Uh-huh.
reason why there was content going on the page back then, it was because of this lady right here, man.
Cheryl,
And she's
yeah.
she's been good to me. And I thank you for everything that you've done. And you know what? We all need help. You know, the hardest thing in this community, Dwayne, has been finding people that you can trust. I hate
Yeah.
to say it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I look at some of the organizations and they would get volunteers, and there was people that just went and attached to those platforms to go say, hey, look, I made my thing. You don't need to look at them anymore. And they end up in wars. And it gets to the point where you don't trust people. So that I know that we've had somebody like this that has been busting their butt and helping us here. She can never get enough thanks, guys.
Oh
So-
yeah.
I am going to hit that right there.
Yeah, Cheryl. God, Cheryl. She could single-handedly just take care of the move. I mean, she works 25 hours a day. I mean, she is.
Well, she's autistic. She says she's autistic. And so it's the perfect yin to my yang. Okay.
Okay.
Because I am the most unorganized.
Yeah.
Like I take on all these different projects, and what ends up happening is I don't have enough time to finish them all. And then I start forgetting more than I'm accomplishing.
Yeah.
But I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, remind me of this. And boy, she's on it. She got
Boom.
it scheduled,
Oh, yeah.
got it organized. That's what the
Taskmaster.
yin to my yang definitely helps me. And thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to get off of that now because she's probably going to get upset that I did it that little
She's
bit.
texting you. Quit doing that. Quit doing that.
I know. Yeah. She's going to. Going back to the comments, Sabrina Haid on
It's all about the
YouTube
money.
said, because it's all about the money. Think about who provides the sex eds. Parents have abdicated it to the schools. Schools have it passed through Planned Parenthood. Relationship is not even on the radar.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And I do. That's what I say, dude. Like we can sit here and talk about the schools. We can sit here and talk about the family courts and everything else that's going on. But we've got to look at the other side of this too. It's so easy to just throw off and say it's their fault.
Someone else's
Where
problem.
have we been coming short? We've got to be better parents. We've got to be more involved, and we've got to realize our own BS, because there's a lot of us out here that are trying to say what the problem is, and we're not realizing our own BS. And let me tell you something. People see that as a weakness. The more you can realize your own BS, that's a strength, because then you can find out where you need to work on to become a better person. Would you disagree, Dwayne?
No, yeah. When you point your finger at someone, there are 3 pointing back at you.
Yes, I've heard that one.
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, it's one of those you got to take a checkup from the neck up, and all those other fun sayings. Is when you're pointing your finger at somebody else, you got to go, hey, what am I? And this is in relationships. Or relations. That sounds weird. Relationships. That's in everything. You've got to sit there and go, what part do I play? When your spouse is mad at you for something, you're like, well, what part did I play in this? And then you kind of walk through it and go, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm perfect.
Well, the conversation we had with Cornell yesterday,
Yeah.
like one of the biggest stresses with keeping Dad Talk going is having the money. And then you still got to work you still got to provide for your own family too. There's no insurance. There's no benefits attached to this.
Yeah.
It's passion. It's mostly ran by passion. At the same time, you got to keep it rolling. So the last thing I want to do with Dad Talk is make a business out of it, because I'm wanting to create the platform I wish we would have had. Unfortunately, I'm not the lawyers. I'm not the attorneys, and I'm not providing coaching. I'm not out there saying, you know what? I have no shortage of messages. People saying, I need to tell you my story. Here's my court documents. What if I acted like that counselor, like the attorney would, and said, $200 an hour, you get to come on here and talk to me. We'll do a Zoom call. But I don't do it.
Right.
At the same time, is that a brag? No, it's not a brag, because I didn't have the business structure there that we need to get the movement going forward.
Right.
So I could sit there and blame it all on, these guys aren't supporting. At the same time, it comes back here. I got to start building some structure to this. I might have to make it more like a business. We are going to have to create merchandise. We're going to have to ask you to support. We're going to have to ask you to share, subscribe, and do this, because we have a mission. And the only way to grow it is to be the leader that does the right things.
Right.
And I failed. I thought I could just run it all in passion. And I was doing the same thing Cornell did. And it ended up with him having to walk away.
Yeah.
That sucks, man. That sucks when you got a lot of stuff invested in there. But that was just one example, like how I can compare it with this movement. There's other places, like I said, taking on more tasks than what I can complete.
There's only so many hours in the day. You still have your life. You got your family.
Well, dude. And then when you can't get back to them, they think it's a personal diss.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's just dodging me.
Guys
He doesn't
and girls,
want to talk.
it's
He only
not.
cares about this other story that's over there, because he's not on there telling mine. Right. And so there's problems that come along with taking on too much. And in ways, I need to be more efficient, and I need to be realistic with expectations. And I caused it by making people think that I could. Right.
I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're one of the, I think the 5 reboots you did on your modem today, I was talking about it, that we were on there for 3.5 hours, and then I got off and was dealing my stuff, and I let you and Cornell and others were, I think, on there doing who knows what for another 8, 9, 10 hours, and then you've got emails that, there's only so many hours in a day, and you got to have different hands helping out. It's not. It doesn't need you. You can't get involved in every individual item. There's only so many hours a day. When you get the merchandise running, which I can't wait for a T-shirt, because that's going to be a walking billboard for me.
I got T-shirts. I got cups. When's the last time you heard me trying to sell T-shirts though, man?
Yeah.
I think I sold like 3 last year, and that's not a brag. It's not, because I should have been telling people I got T-shirts, I got cups, I got this. But I think the hard thing about doing stuff like that with this movement is so many of these guys have been used in the middle of their pain.
Yeah.
They've been used in the middle of their pain to give this hard-earned money that they prepared for their family, that they worked for, to some attorney or to some ex who left them to watch a boyfriend or somebody have more time with their children than them. And at this point in time, they think everybody's crooked. They think everybody is corrupt, right? I get it. I end up falling into that too. And so I convinced myself, like, dude, I can't ask these people. At the same time, who am I fighting for?
Yeah.
Was it me talking about my story on every show? No. This is talking about many different stories. We have to ask the community. So I'm going to tell you, anybody that throws shade towards that from now on, I do. One thing I've gotten really good about, Dwayne, if you don't put in positivity to my life, I can Move on and just go on. So like these people that have come in and complain about you for everything that you are, if you block and move on, then it's, oh, they blocked me. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to do this. It's like, dude, don't you got something better to do with your life?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, get out there, fight towards the cause. And yeah, I don't know how we ended up there. And just like yesterday at the end of that show, dude, if you really want to know the ins and outs of what's going on in this movement, go watch the last hour of yesterday's episode.
Yeah.
And those were conversations that I've had with many of the leaders, guys that were here years and decades before I was, and said, what is going on? And they all say the same things, but we've never reversed it. Somehow, through the whole period of these millions and millions of fathers across the world going through parental alienation, fighting for equal rights, somehow we've never been able to get our head above the water, Dwayne. And they all keep saying the same things. It comes back to infighting. It comes back to money. It comes back to people not showing up. And I say, at what point do we say we're going to do something different here? You know, and then crazy thing is when you get that group of leaders together, we all know about it. But how many of the people out here do? Most of the people out here have no idea what the guys that have been busting their ass for decades have been saying. I'm going to tell you, dude, I had one of them, very respected, probably one of the most respected men's rights guys out there, that looked at me one time and said, Eric, it will never happen in the legislative arena. Whew. That's after 3 years of busting my ass, dude, talking to every politician, doing everything I could, wearing the suits, wearing the ties, like just trying to get the conversation anywhere I could. And he's like, it will never happen in the legislative arena. We got to change the culture. And dude, I'm going to tell you, I was biting my lip. I got off that show and dude, it's not one of those thoughts that just left me. I went around for like a month. I'm like, doggone it. Like, I'll show him we can do it. And then, you know, the more that I got away from it, I was like, oh God, dude, he's right. And so I got to have the conversation with him again, one-on-one not long ago. And I was like, dude, you're right. And he was just sitting there smiling. He was like, why is that? And I said several expletives. I was like, F this, F that, F that, yeah. Like, F the system. And I was venting because it was somebody that I trust that's like a mentor to me, right?
Right.
I'll give you his name, Paul Elam. I was talking to Paul about this. And he was like, now you're on the right track.
Yeah.
But I go back and I watch something like the Red Pill, right? I see those guys standing outside the Capitals doing rallies and stuff 15, 20 years ago, man. I've seen it 30, 40 years ago. People out there holding signs, support shared parenting. And back then, a lot more people actually showed up.
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing this for how long? Are we going to continue to do that? Do I sit there and say, I don't like what he said, so I'm going to make a point? Or do I say, I need to take what he said to heart and say, where can I be different?
Yeah.
That's what we got to start doing, man. And so, dude, we pick the heads of these leaders all the time. Go back and watch that last hour. Those are some of the conversations that you haven't been told. They're not the most popular conversations. I don't think they'll ever be, but it's what it takes to organize and get ahead of this thing. And none of us are going away. I can't do it, man. I don't know how anybody, well, yes,
that's right.
I was about to say, idea. If you get red pilled, I don't know how you turn your back on this thing because you know what's riding on it, right? I have a hard time just walking away from this studio because if I get away from those messages, does somebody just get killed? Is somebody on the verge of suicide? What's going on? Is somebody who's going through false allegations? At the same time, I have to say, go in there, spend time with your family. And then let's look at it. If they did talk to you right now, what can you do besides going on Facebook Live? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not an attorney. I'm not any of this. And so we've got to be realistic of the expectations of the different parts of this movement too. Some of these guys just get so bombarded, Dwayne. I mean, it is nuts because again, there's no shortage of people. The shortage comes in the resources. And I think a lot of these guys are thinking that there just needs to be this organization that shows up and offers pro bono service to everybody. That's a pipe dream. Most of those attorneys are not going to say, I am going to put, you know, my law license and everything I worked hard towards to just go work for people for free.
Well, they have paid attorneys that they tell the client, look, I'm not going against this judge because I have to worry about my license, my livelihood, and everything else. You're getting standard visitation, have a nice life. I know you paid me $50,000, but those are paid attorneys telling you that. There was not some pro bono lawyer or junior lawyer that's going to willingly do that. I got to tell people a lot of this. If I was taking a stand, don't be afraid. Yeah. And what I'm saying, and I know what Eric's saying, is not to give up, but this is the reality that we're in right now. We've got to change that narrative and fight. Your personal case, get in there and learn the law. And I don't want to say that I'm better than anybody, but I worked, my main job, had my kids half the time, worked a part-time job, and still learned law and how to go pro se and do that. Those resources are out there. You have to dig and you have to fight. That's what you have to do. You can't watch the football game. You can't, have free time. I mean, this has been for at least 10 years now, decade. This has been what I do. I haven't even turned on my VR headset my entire vacation. I've been on vacation for the last month. I haven't played a video game. I've been doing stuff for the show.
I'm proud of myself. I had 2 20-minute sessions this week on Fortnite with my brother.
Oh my God. Look at you.
Did. And my very first one, I got a victory royale.
Ooh.
Not that I'm a big Fortniter, but it's what I do to connect with my boys and my brother. I mean, I've missed that brotherhood. I mean, me and him grew up together. I love him to death. And a lot of times, being active over here, there's just some of the things that matter to me. I've thought about it before. Like if something was to happen to one of your family members and you're going all over the country doing this, like you're never going to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
At the same time, we can't slow down here. We got to keep going, because what happens is you build momentum. And when you slow down, it starts falling back down. And then by the time you get back in there and put it back on your shoulders and start running up the hill again, then you burn out. It starts going back down. And it seems like this roller coaster, man. It seems like this roller coaster. I don't want to do that roller coaster anymore. And so I think the only way to not do that is to let the people know what the challenges have been. And I don't know why we haven't told them a long time ago. I guess this is Miss Cheryl down here. She's been in the movement for a long time. She said there is some corruption in this community, sadly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Dude, there's people that feed off of the hope that you want change. And if you want change, and you just no different than the attorneys, if you want your kids, you'll pay for them.
Yeah.
Is that not what the family courts do? If you want your kids, you'll pay for them. Well, if we actually offer solutions, guess what? You can't sell anymore. You can't sell hope. And that's what I say, dude. Like if I've never seen this thing just get red hot. And when some of these other organizations, I'm not talking about like them or anything like that, but look at Black Lives Matter, dude. That thing came out of the middle of nowhere, and they became a force in the middle of nowhere. Or you look at the opposition feminists, LGBTQ, all these different people, they knew how to organize. I was watching on Twitter as there was a live on Jeff Younger when he was at UNT, and they were saying, this is what's going on. Play for play. We need you here. We need you doing this. That was how well oiled that machine was, guys. I don't agree with that machine one bit whatsoever, but I'm sitting here as an outsider on Twitter watching them say, go do this, go do this. This is what Jeff just said. This is what's going on in the classroom. Keep going. And I was like, holy crap, man. And that's just one of our advocates that was out there that's been trying to fly the flag. He ran for office. And some of the crap that he went up against, again, go back and look at the red pill when Warren or Paul would try to speak somewhere. And they're outside of those colleges and pulling the fire alarms and doing the things that they're doing. Now, let me ask you guys a question. There's so many people that sit there and say, do this, do this, do this. This is the solution. This is the solution. Are you going to be that person that when you see that going down, you go watch Jeff Younger at UNT and you see what he went through to stand up for what he believes in? How many of you would put those shoes on and do what he just did? That's what you're asking people. And then I want you to ask yourself this: should he have been there alone? He had a few people there, yes.
Yeah.
But compared to what he walked into the lion's den, dude. That guy walked straight up in the lion's den.
He walked in with the same 5 guys that are there, that the main old guys that show up to all the things. And I mean that's who we could count on to be there for him. But yeah, nobody else did.
Dude, I just pull it up.
And you have to go back to a previous podcast to
Yes,
understand that joke.
let's explain that one quickly. In England, there is a cake that
Let's
has
see.
dates in it. It's called spotted dick. That became a funny thing, talking about the different terms. But oh, dude, Pasquale, he said pizza. I can make you a good one. I hope so, man.
Yeah.
You know, there was actually a Pasquale, to show you some of my dorkiness and the history that I know. Showbiz. Or no, that was Chuck E. Cheese. There's a Pasquale, the pizza guy. That was one of the robots on there. Or do you got spotted dick pulled up?
Let's see here. Let me get that. Yeah, here we go. Got it pulled up right now.
Okay. That is not a fake can. That is not Photoshop. It is not. I used to work at a food bank. And one day we got this guy that does English foods. He brought it in. And I took one of those cans and threw it at my boss. And I said, hey, I got that stuff you've been wanting. I was this close to getting wrote up. He put his head down and it turned red. He got mad and laughed at the same time. But then it didn't just end there. My dad came in because he used to feed people in the community all the time. And I did it with him. It was like, Daddy, you told me to hold this. It's like, here you go. You know, my dad, even though he was a pastor, had a great sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
He took that can home and had fun with it. He showed it to numerous different people. So, yes, I don't know how a spotted dick sandwich would taste. I just didn't even feel right
I need to get
saying
vaccinated.
that. Okay, back. We got another voicemail in here.
Oh, voicemail.
441-0281.
Hey, my name is Brandon. I'm calling from Kentucky, and I was just curious if anybody had any tips on how to overcome a false allegation of child abuse, specifically sexual child abuse. I'm coming up in January. I've got an adjudication hearing, and essentially what has happened is I haven't seen my children in almost 10 months. March 19th was the day that they were legally kidnapped from me by the family court system on false allegations of abuse. And January 4th will be the first day in this entire process that I've even had an opportunity to share my side of the story, present any kind of evidence. As you guys probably already know, you know, walking into a situation like this is pretty daunting, and especially if you've never experienced the family court system in any way. The best way I can describe it is it feels like I have been thrown into a van with a hood over my head, driven to the front lines of a foreign war with my hands tied behind my back, blindfolded, and no weapons. And so any advice or any tips, you know, going into this adjudication hearing would be welcome and greatly appreciated. So thank you guys for everything you're doing.
Thank you for your message from Kentucky, one of the first 50-50 state, and to tear off that veil. Unfortunately, after 50-50 got passed, these false allegation numbers have eked upward. It's what happens. Well, first, preface by saying I'm not an attorney. Just what I'm hearing. You're facing, unfortunately, what happens after that. The attorneys teach all these ways to play the game. You can go in there with documented evidence. I'd like to tell you here that it's guilty or innocent until proven guilty, but you've been through family court, so you know how that works. You're already guilty no matter what the facts say. But evidence, we didn't really talk about the particulars of the abuse that happened with the child allegedly. All you can do is go in there with evidence and demand that they prove that. I'd like to tell you that your options are, the chances are good, but with the way things are set up, they don't need evidence. There was a report that came out where they were talking about DV charges, and you have to satisfy a 51%. In order to get a TRO or a domestic violence charge, you have to satisfy 51% of these factors. And they did a report, and they said that judges are doing right at 5% on that threshold. So put it in the vernacular or in a different way, they pass them out like bologna sandwiches. I mean, they don't do anything. I wish I had better news. I don't know if you have an attorney. I'd like to say go in there and go pro se for something like this, but probably what they'll end up doing is try to get you to plead to it. okay, everything being equal, they're trying to get, to change their custody agreement. So they're going to go and offer you a plea deal. I would personally say no, because they're going to ask you to plead guilty to a lesser charge. It'll contain, 1 year of probation or some other, whatever that is. You have to give up, your weapons. You have to do this, but now you're marked, and they'll put you on a registry, and it's pretty well over at that point. Personally, I would never take the deal. I would say, let's fight this out. But you don't know what might happen.
Just full of technical difficulties today. And just in case the viewer is wondering, I am not laughing at that. And I want to answer it to the best of my knowledge, but I don't know if you noticed. As soon as I clicked on his voicemail, I went to move over here and it started playing a different voicemail.
Right.
And I had no idea where it was going on.
Right.
That was completely random. So I was hearing two different callers at one time. I did hear about how to fight off false allegations. And dude, this is where it really sucks. If you got a guy that's in the middle of all these emotions and now he's going through this and he needs to have some quick relief with false allegations, are we going to tell him that he needs to learn the whole family law language right now? Unfortunately, many times this is where a seasoned attorney, one that you can trust, does come in. Okay. And a lot of times they cost a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened with John Matt's case. John went in there, tried to fight it himself. He got railroaded. And then that's when he got Kevin Hickey to come in and work with his other attorney, and they got John exonerated. It took a while, but there are some good ones out there. Kevin is one that will consult with you for free. If you go to Hickey and Hull Law Firm and tell him that you've watched this show, he will consult with you for free. I am in no way dude, I think what Carnell was saying, there were some of the viewers that got a little mixed up when Carnell would be talking and thinking that he was promoting attorneys. Carnell was promoting you to go pro se.
Yeah.
He was teaching you to teach yourself, so that way you don't have to get an attorney. Or if you're afraid that you might mess that up, go hire you an experienced paralegal who's going to be much, much less to sit beside you, help you manage your emotions, and make sure you're filing the right way and putting the right Roman numeral in. Right. Because if you're going to try to go through the system, you got to be prepared to fight the system. Right. Okay? You can hate the system all you want. I think all of us hate it. But if you're going to go through it, you need to be prepared, because the more unprepared you are and the more you just say, oh, I don't care for the system, and you don't prepare for it and go in with strategy, it's not going to be good for you, man. And with these guys with false allegations, there's no amount of, I'm just not going to fight. I'm going to go over there. Your reputation, everything that you've got is on the line right now. Mm-hmm. It is not right. I think there should 100% be some consequences for these people that are making these allegations. And when I say consequences, I'm not just talking about jail time. I'm saying they should have to pay every single one of those bills, and you should get some monetary support for all the damages that they made. Yeah. They should have to go out publicly and say, I lied on this guy. I am sorry. And you ain't getting out of jail until you do. You're going to pay his attorney's bills. He's going to get custody of the kids. And then you're going to give him some money for damages every day that he missed out of work. If they put him on administrative leave, just like that principal, that committed suicide over at Disneyland. If we had those type of consequences in there, consequences that make sense, Dwayne, that might seem harsh for somebody, but could you imagine saying, hey, this guy raped a kid. All right. He can show that he didn't do it. And sometimes that can be hard, because all they need is their allegation. Right. Yeah. If you can fight it off, she's going to get to walk scotch free. No. I mean, he has got that black cloud, that stigma that's going to follow him for the rest of his life. Now, if that could have put him in jail, why does making the allegation knowing that it was a false allegation that had those type of consequences, why aren't they the ones that suffers the consequences? Because it would have never even been talked about in the first place had it not been for the false accuser. I've literally saw people like blue-pilled, if you ask me, the blue-pilled saying, they shouldn't have to go to jail. They shouldn't have to do the whole time. Bull crap. If you made that type of allegation towards somebody and you expected them to pay the consequences, you should be prepared to face the same consequences when it comes out, because the whole thing was your doings. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong here, somebody? I mean, I've seen more people say, well, they should get a little bit of time. I don't know about the whole time.
Oh, no.
Why?
You
I'm
had no
sorry.
problem, putting the other person in jail if it was accurate. Yeah, no, I got a study up on my other screen here. Over 82% of child abuse claims false. I mean, the numbers are with these claims of abuse and molestation. They're false. I mean, the reason they can turn out to be false is they're used tactically, and they know there's zero consequences for making false claims. I mean, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial is just a recent public big one. Those were all false. Yeah, they settled I think on $1 million, which I'm assuming is probably nothing big, for her to pay. But there are they can just keep doing. I mean, we've had, I think there's someone in the chat here, 43. There we go. Kim made 43 false reports on his son who's been 43.
Garza's story, man.
Do what?
That's Garza's story.
Yeah, Garza.
He was
Oh my God.
43 out of all the numbers you could pick. Robert Garza, 43 false CPS reports.
43. And then each time, okay, oh, it's the same person, the rubber stamp with a different date on it. And they were like, okay, because it generates that money wheel. They don't care. And we would love to pass legislation that would say that people that knowingly make false allegations suffer some kind of consequences. But because of now and the Me Too movement, that legislation will probably never get passed because they have such a strong influence over our legislators.
That should be common sense legislation, right?
It should be. Yeah.
It should be. Well, why isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and another thing, the whole attorney per se. Okay. So when you take your car to a mechanic, I'm going to try to break it down to us working guys here. And it's something that's out of your wheelhouse. You learn what you can. Hopefully people do this. You learn what you can. And you're like, all right, this is outside my wheelhouse. I'm going to take it to a professional mechanic. Have them put them in the lift. I'm going to watch what they're doing, learn. And, if they tell me that my muffler bearings are loose or my blinker fluid's low, I'm going to go, wait a second. That ain't right. I mean, my bonus daughter, she got a car. It was having some issues. And I said, all right, take it to 3 different places. I'm going to do some research. I would hope she would have done it too. And we're like, okay, it's got to be one of these 3 things. She took it to 3 different mechanics. One person told her her entire transmission was bad, $3,000. One person told her it was this, $4,000. One person said, oh yeah, the spark plug gaps are off. We need to change those, $50 or whatever that was. And then fix, the air conditioner. And I tell that long story to go, just because you go to an attorney, you can't just offload this to them. You've got to get educated and at least be able to get in there. If you get an experienced paralegal, you understand the framework on how this is supposed to work, and you bounce your ideas off the paralegal. It's cheaper, and the person that's going to represent you the best is you. I know they say, if a person represents himself, he has a fool for a client. That was written by attorneys. Hello. Well, you got to learn this stuff.
And some people know more than others, right? And that's okay. If you've got your normal everyday routine and you're working, the last thing you thought you'd have to do was get educated in law. I had my older daughter who reached out not too long ago after she had been talked to 2 different grown men and said, Daddy, I got to take my car to the mechanic. And she was like, do you think you could help? I was like, yeah, no problem. What's going on? She was like, I got to pay them to check my transmission fluid. And I said, what? She's like, I need to check my transmission fluid. I'm wondering if it's low or if I don't have enough. And I said, baby, you do know you can check your transmission fluid
too.
And they was like, well, it's in a weird spot. And I pulled up the YouTube video. Is like, here you go.
YouTube is your friend, guys.
Oh, dude, I mean, like, it's no different. There is some very, very smart people on here. I don't ever try to give you legal strategy because I'm not the guy to do it. At the same time, there is people that you could learn everything you need to know. Unfortunately, there's going to be times where you're going to need one of these experienced seasoned guys because there's only so much time you got to get into court and go in there with these false allegations. And just when you think you've got what you need to get over this and prove, there comes another accusation. Here it goes, 43. So just because you think you're going to be able to argue this one, it doesn't mean it ends. People that create conflict like this create more conflict. It don't just say, okay, you got me. I was lying. I'm going into the sunset. No.
Yeah, no.
Well, there's got to
They
be
double
something
down.
else, and I'm going to do this. And some of you guys are not going to have time to prepare for that, unfortunately, which is why the industry is the way it is, because they know this is the perfect plan. And it's sad. I do believe if they started finding out, hey, I had to pay this guy back a lot of money because I made false allegations after him, kind of like Amber Heard. I do believe if I had to do some jail time, and when they start hearing like, oh, this could not go good for me if I end up showing this and I don't have the evidence to prove it, you might start seeing this a little bit less. But I think that that's common sense legislation too. So why wouldn't they pass that? Maybe would that stop some of that money from coming in the system?
Ding, 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 ding.
Probably. I think so. Father X on YouTube said, question, from what you know, after false abuse claims are revealed and mom has had custody, what percentage of times do you think court reverses custody? Or do you think court just keeps custody for mom anyway? I've seen it on both sides, man.
Yeah.
Well, and look, Chris Smith did bring up something really good on the last podcast because I don't think he has seen as many people in one place talking about false allegations, right? And so people just kept, and it was the same for me when I started doing this. Like, wow, how many people are supposedly going through false allegations, right? And the scary thing is you don't want to talk about it because if there's a chance that the person actually did the things that they said they were, we started seeing a trend here. But look, there is a difference between somebody who knowingly makes an accusation of sexual or physical abuse, knowing that they are lying and doing it maliciously. There is going to be times where somebody might innocently have done it thinking that they was checking up on their child.
Yeah.
The famous case of where the daughter said, my daddy put his pee-pee on my pee-pee. They had to go through that whole court case. Now, if I heard my daughter say something like this, I would be doing my investigation work.
Yeah.
What ended up happening? She had peed in the toilet and then dad came and peed on top of hers. They had left the pee in the toilet. But she said he put his pee-pee on my pee-pee.
Right.
There is a
Both are factually
difference
correct.
knowingly and then trying to find out what's going on. These ones that are maliciously making these allegations just because they want to get the upper hand in family court, which happens all the time. There should be some severe consequences.
Oh, John Mass.
Oh, yeah.
Video that exonerated him. And what happened to the mom? Nothing. I mean, yeah, there needs to be consequences for false allegations because on top of everything else, it takes away resources from actual victims. I mean, I know of women and men that have been physically abused and then they don't get believed or they don't get the resources that they need because of all these people making, I mean, they'll bring the 82, 85% false allegation or, all these allegations are false all the time. When it's the people, apparently the people I know, but then for these false 43 and 60 and so on and so forth, they just let those, sail right on through. I don't know why, but that's where we're at.
Well, it's hard because obviously people are writing in like, what do I do? What do I do? And we seem like we go in the different directions. Like you could do this, but I don't recommend it. You could do this, but I might not recommend it. Yeah. If you do this, this is what could happen. But if you don't do this, this is what could happen. We know that the system is flawed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, is what we are doing a part of the solution? I think so, because most of these people don't know how crooked it is until they're in it. And so if we can collectively show that you're facing this problem, they're facing this problem, they're facing this problem, the more stories that come out, the more people start saying, holy crap, look at what's going on. But it sucks when these parents are going through this and you don't have a simple, let me tell you what you can do.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not, there's so many unknowns. There may have been some type of contact that like my pee-pee on my pee-pee, and that type of stuff. But it has changed. People telling their story has changed because the narrative years ago used to be, oh, I've never heard of that happening. Yours is just a one. Well, the murders at custody exchanges. Oh, that's a one-off. That rarely happens. Now we know that's not the case because people have talked about it.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for the stars, guys. Start that star party. I would have really appreciated it. She has been, dude, when we went up to New York, she did fundraisers and all kinds of stuff
Oh,
to
wow.
help us get up there. Some amazing people. Tom Fitzpatrick giving us the pizza and bringing us groceries to eat while we were on the road. But yeah, man, I mean, keeping these conversations going are definitely critical. And false allegations, the crazy thing is people think, well, he wants to do this for attention, wants to be famous and stuff like that. Do you think anybody in their right mind, I haven't been through this silver bullet. Do you think anybody wants to be known for the guy that gets on here and talks about people going through allegations and stuff like that? I'm telling you, dude, I did everything in my power to go in the opposite direction when these guys said I was victims of false sexual allegations.
Yeah.
Because I was like, man, if you actually did that, you don't want to be talking to me.
Yeah.
Because I was that same guy. At the same time, I started talking out about it little by little, thinking, man, people aren't going to want to hear us thinking about this. They're going to call us rape apologists and different stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the last thing that we are, because I am just as against this happening to a kid as everybody else is if it actually happened.
Right.
But then as I started getting a little bit more boisterous about it, going to the legislation, going out into the public, talking to celebrities, like there's a lot of these guys that are going through false sexual allegations. They're going through false domestic violence situations. I was afraid it was going to be met with opposition. Most of the time it's like, oh God, yeah, dude, I know. I got a buddy that went through it.
Mhm.
And I was shocked to find out how many people actually said they agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't hear much pushback from
Yeah.
it because somebody knows somebody that's been through it.
Yeah.
Right?
The only caution, that I have, and the reason we can't talk about it, a lot or name names in a lot of cases, is that, there are fakers out there. There are people that are guilty of what they've been accused of, and they're wanting to slide themselves in and talk about it and not share information. And we get out here and we go, yeah, Bob Smith, he was a victim of false allegation. And then a report comes up that he did it. Well, Dad Talk Today is promoting rape apologists and that. I mean, you have to vet this stuff, and you're only getting part of the story. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of exposure.
In order to talk about the issues, guys, I want to show you, like, this isn't like other shows where you can just say what you feel and then get off the screen. You have to know that everything that you say when you talk about dads, when you talk about false allegations, is going to be countered with this argument of why what you're saying is bullcrap and why you don't need to be talking about it. So you have to think of all the different scenarios, like what are they going to try to bring up? And so I will say this, with when I say there needs to be consequences to the fullest extent for false allegations, I say there needs to be more severe consequences for the ones that are raping and doing the things that they are. Okay, because I've seen some of those guys that actually do rape kids or do some of these cases get out in 10 to 20 years, man.
Yeah.
And then you got the guy over here that got locked up for marijuana that's got longer than that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But you go and you knowingly let somebody out back into society where they can go and get more victims, and a lot of times they do. I think there should be more harsh consequences for people that are doing these things to kids, that are doing this. And let me tell you something about victims too, man. I come to you from this at a different angle, and I don't like going too far into it.
Yeah.
But as being a victim of some of this stuff as a kid myself, most of the time victims, especially kids, they don't talk.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so dangerous. They don't talk. Is it always going to be that way across the board? No. But do you know how many of these cases they found out where this was going? It was hard to get that kid to say, look, this is what's happening, because they are literally scared to death of that person, or they think it was something that they did that caused it. They carried the guilt from it. So you rarely are going to see that victim screaming, this has happened to me, like a kid. So it's dangerous, man. It's dangerous. I want to protect all kids.
Yeah.
I want to protect all kids, even if they're not mine. Your kids,
that's why we're
my
here.
Kids, let's protect everybody's kids. At the same time, knowing that the system knowingly allows these false accusations to stand up like they do, and just to keep ignoring it is one of the biggest disgraces to mankind that I've ever seen. You are failing the children. You're failing these parents. You're failing our nation.
Yeah.
Because if you keep letting this go the way it is, we won't even be able to recognize this place before too long. These kids already don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well, they I mean, and it's not just one time. And then when these things come out, and I've researched a couple of them, the person has been doing it to other family members because one didn't speak up. They were doing it, multi generation, different family members, and that's just an ongoing thing. And we need people to be in a safe spot to talk about this and get this out there. And there needs to be some very severe consequences. And our judicial system and legislative system, we're letting out, these people in 10, 20 years, we put them on a registry. Okay. I don't understand why. And there's no, well, I think what's the number? I don't even know what the number is off the top of my head, but what's the number of recidivism that this happens after they get out? It's pretty high.
I don't know. I mean, there's just some of the research and statistics that we need. I mean, what sucks is when you have the legislators or somebody that comes to you because you're voiceless about a problem like custody exchange murders and say, what's the rate? We don't know because nobody's looking into it. But don't tell me it's not a problem just because we don't have the research. Why aren't they doing the research? You don't realize the rut that these guys are in. They expect us to bring on this research and all this professional stuff that a lot of these other people are doing. You broke these guys and then want to know why they're not doing the things that other people who have the funding do.
Right.
There's a reason why the opposition can afford to do the things that they do. Right. But we need that research. We need to find out how many of these guys are being killed at custody exchanges. And make no mistake, there is guys that are killing mothers out there too, because the battle from family court, once they get out of the family court, man, and they're battling over these children, it is a high-tempered situation. But we don't have the statistics that we need in order to present to these guys to make them listen. Now, if we could get that, are they going to listen? I am skeptical on that too.
That's where I'm going.
But we can educate the public. And the more that we educate the public and we say this is a false narrative, here's the research, and this is what's going on, the more that we can make people aware. I think the public needs to be aware that you can buy a positive paternity test right now and say, you are the father, and that it can get that bad. How many people know that? They don't. But Carnell is just spitting out these little nuggets of knowledge, and I'm over here like, what? And I told him, dude, like we got to bring the smoke, man. All these little things that you're telling me, like 70% in Jamaica are finding out that they weren't the dad. 70%? Are you freaking kidding me, dude? That is what? 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Out of the people that are doing the paternity test, imagine, guys, you're going through all this bull crap that we're talking about on this podcast right now. You've been to prison. You've done all these different things. You've had false allegations. You've spent every dime. And then you find out years later that the kid you was doing it for wasn't yours in the first place.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens, man.
And
it is, dude, VAWA is one of the most dangerous things on the face of this earth. The Violence Against Women's Act. Yeah. And I know you guys don't like it when we go too much in a political arena, but it is your current president that started that. Okay. And it was put inside of $1 trillion spending bill, reauthorized just this year. Guys, that's money next year that goes to protect the narrative, $1 trillion spending bill. And we're over here saying, can you give us some stars?
Yeah.
Not only are we challenged financially, we're challenged with what platforms we have to get it out with. But, dude, this is a dangerous thing to talk about. I won't get too far into it on the show because we know how censorship goes. But you guys need to read up on Nancy Schaefer. You need to read up on Nancy Schaefer. You need to read up on Mark Angelucci. When you start getting to the point to where you can really make a difference, they don't just go away. They don't just go away. And we can't allow them to, man. You guys, if you appreciate these conversations, let us know. Sometimes it's good to know, hey, we're reaching people out there. Will you help us? Will you join the fight? We will have the conversations. If we can talk about prostate exams and vasectomies and all the other stuff, we're not afraid to have the conversations that need to be had. And I do hope that in this period of time that we've been doing some of this stuff, that you can appreciate the fact that we're just trying to be regular men coming on here and saying, we will pull off the veil and, show you the behind the scenes just so we can show you what's real. right? So
Yeah.
many people, I felt so sick for the last, several years, Dwayne, of feeling like I had to be a certain person to talk for this movement because there was all these different rules and things you couldn't talk about. You can't talk about dads. You can't talk about child support. You can't talk about Title 4D. And usually the things they tell us that we can't talk about are the things that we need to be talking about the most.
Yeah.
And we need to be encouraging some of these other guys to do it too. So we're going into areas that hasn't been crossed yet.
Yeah.
But I do so knowingly and because I feel good. And I, just like I said, for you guys to thank Cheryl early on, dude, for the past couple of years, I've had a hard time just being able to go for an hour because I feel like I'm talking about the same things over and over. And many times we are because we got new viewers and they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
But having Mr. Dwayne on the screen
Like,
and bouncing back and forth has been really nice. Look, man, we're almost at the 3-hour mark right now. And I feel like we're just now starting.
getting started.
We're just getting started, man. Dude, we have been consistent besides that one time when I got back from Texas and I missed that one podcast. I can tell you the numbers are starting to go on an upswing.
Yeah.
And I should have probably done this a long time ago, but it was all a part of the journey. Like there's all these people that believe in these solutions. And I had to see it for myself.
Yeah.
I had to see it for myself. I had to see how it was received. I had to see how the game operates. And it's just the whole thing is smoke and mirrors. Even if you got people that say they'll fight for you, they know they got somebody in there that's going to squash it when it gets up to here. And they, again, well-oiled machine.
Yeah. I'm telling you,
Do you mean to tell me this machine that needs these dads in order to exist, this machine that has gotten to where it is because of men, this child support, this alimony, everything that's being paid because these guys are out there busting their ass for their family. You mean to tell me that we can't be an even better oiled machine if we actually put our mind to it? You do realize this, right? As much as we keep talking about the opposition and how strong they are, they're only that strong because we have allowed them to be.
let them.
You understand? Yeah. We're the one that built the machine. We are the machine, right? Yeah. We can do this. We can do this. Everybody grab a hammer, grab a wrench. And I'm saying that figuratively, Facebook. I'm
grab your Thundercat sword.
I'm saying get in there, start working. Let's all start carrying bricks and build this empire that can fight back at Goliath, man. That's what it is. We need some of these guys that do not fear Goliath and that want to pick up some rocks and start slinging that, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be us doing with what little we have. But I do believe that passion and the fight that we've got, dude, we're doing this for our kids.
Yeah.
We're doing this for our kids. We're dads that love our kids. And for too long, they have tried to treat us as paychecks. Could you imagine when these guys come together and say enough is enough?
Yeah. I'm reminded of the 4th of July, or God, what's that movie? It had Will Smith and all that, where the president was saying, we will not go quietly into the night. We will overcome. And then Will Smith kicked their butts and we beat the aliens. I mean, that's the thing. And it's refreshing to hear it because I've been saying it for a while, and it's great knowing there were other people out there that go, look, this wearing a suit and tie, no discredit to Carnell. I mean, he looks great in his suit, and that, that's his thing.
He's a smooth talker.
He's good. He's a real guy. He's straight talk, and all that. But, it's time to take the suits off and the whole, polish this and, we can't touch this topic. We can't do this. It doesn't work. No. And I'll go a step further. I think I shared this story with you not long ago, but Sabrina, I want to make sure that she gets this because his name needs to be heard. What was Mark's last name again? Nancy Schaefer. Yes, Nancy Schaefer and her husband. Read up on that. Mark, it's spelled with a C. Angelucci, Angellucci. Mark Angelucci. He was in the Red Pill. He was an attorney. That he's no longer with us, guys. He was, from what I'm told, he was just about to go take on a case against CPS. All right. And look into those and see what happens. But getting back, talking about taking off the ties and all this other stuff. Dude, I was in Baltimore not long ago. I've talked about that trip to Baltimore several times, but this is a new story. It's not one that I've repeated. I have told you, Dwayne. But there, when we did it at a church, and there were several of those fathers in there. And I heard the pastor like, get the hell out of here. Stop your mouth. And, that's a bunch of S or BS or something like that. There was a couple of things like growing up, Southern, pastor's son. I was like, that's a preacher. That's
And
very
he later
unpastory.
told me, he's like, look, he's like, that's not how I talk. But sometimes you can sit there and you can argue against it, or you can speak in a language that they understand. And when he sat there and told me that, I was like, whoa, dude.
Mhm.
We are expecting people to receive this information and to fight for this movement in the way that we want them to, but they might have it in a different way.
Yeah.
They might be speaking a different message, but we're all working towards the same goal. What is that it says in the Bible? If they are for us, they can't be against us.
Yep.
So if they are for us, they might have different ways that they attribute to this movement, but there's other things they can do. I'll give you one example of that. Larnell Palmer. He runs the pay F child support. He
Yeah.
lets people, he calls it baby mama terrorists. And there was several times, we had talks on the phone. I was like, Larnell, dude, I love you and stuff. You're spitting truth, man. At the same time, I can't be seen on a show called F Child Support. I can't be seen calling baby mama terrorist because, it might not be good optics for the movement. But you go in to where we was at in Arlington, and you saw right there where Tyrone Darling was shot, going to his place of work, pushing a baby in a stroller.
Murdered.
Would it be a far stretch to call that a baby mama terrorist?
That'd be literally a
Would it-
baby
would
mama
it-
terrorist. That literally.
Let's go into John Mass. Let's go into some of these other guys. Would it be a far stretch to call somebody a baby mama terrorist? No. So just because they might be saying it in a different way, if you listen to the message and what they're trying to fight against,
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
And I think there was probably plenty of people that never listened to what he had to say just because of the way. Dwayne, you'd be a good example. Pissed off parent.
Yeah.
How many times you'd be, Dwayne, you probably.
all the time.
Okay.
All the time. Everybody pushed back against me. Dude, you can't pissed off parent that's going to alienate people.
Well,
I'm a pissed off parent.
unfortunately, it does. But it's all in, again, the optics.
Yeah.
Dwayne, do you have a right to be pissed off? Do you think these parents have a right to be pissed off?
Yeah.
But if you say we're pissed off,
And
then that's not good because you look like the angry deadbeat. No. I am the guy that was paying the child support. I'm the guy that was going through the system. I seen how broken the system was. I'm pissed off for a reason. But people only see in what they want to see. I say, look at this, dude. You got the Bible. One book.
Yeah.
How many different religions have been made off of that one book?
25,000 plus.
Okay.
That's the measures.
I'm going to compare this to the movement. You see all these different parental alienation pages, all these different organizations.
Right.
You take the Bible, how many different denominations and religions was made off of that one book? And it's no different with this movement, but it was all still the same book.
Yeah.
They all said this is what we're supposed to believe, but everybody said it had a different meaning. Those words meant something different, right? But could you imagine, one, if the church actually got behind this movement and did what they were supposed to do? But could you imagine if all those churches, instead of separating themselves between the denominations, once saved, always saved, speaking in tongues, not speaking in tongues, all these different things, if they came together and did things together, because ultimately they're supposed to be going off the same book, going towards the same goal. Will it ever happen? Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Dude, I tried to do that with churches one time. I was a preacher at one point in time. I went to all the churches in the area and was like, dude, we're all supposed to be worshiping the same God. Let's come together. Let's do an event together. Those pastors thought I was crazy, man. You got all these people that say to unite, but they don't realize what it takes to unite. And so in saying that, I want to unite our brothers. I want to hear your conversations. You've been sitting here listening to mine for a very long time, but we want to hear from you too. And we can unite together. We might have different ways of doing it. We might tell farts and wiener jokes sometimes just so we can keep on here 3 hours of talking about parents getting killed and custody and stuff like that. Sometimes it can get a little overwhelming, right? But at the end of the day, we're fathers that want to have equal rights and we want to see the system change. That's all this is about. It's all it's ever been about. It's all it's ever going to be about. And the second that we can see some change in that arena and we can get these laws changed, we'll go do something else.
Yeah. Good.
Or maybe you don't. Maybe that's the point that where we can say you need some help changing a diaper. Are you a dad that you're raising a daughter? You're a single dad. Now she's going through her period. How do you approach this subject? Maybe we could have some of those, but it wouldn't have to be, can I be a dad? How much does it cost for me to be a dad? Am I going to lose my life going to pick up my kid? Those are the conversations I want to end. I
Yeah.
would love to tell you that we can talk about the good parts of being a dad because they're there, Dwayne.
Oh
Being a
yeah.
dad is what matured me.
Yeah.
I've let my fingernails get painted. I've had the makeup put on me and stuff like that. And you know what? I wouldn't take anything for it, dude. I came down to my kids' level and I love them. There's other parts of being a dad if they allow us to be a dad. But we haven't got to talk about the good parts yet because there's many of us on here that haven't been gave that chance.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of dads that don't get it. Yeah. I mean, Dad Talk Today doesn't have to just encompass, this piece, but I'd love the day that Dad Talk Today, has more content on, how do I put my daughter's hair in pigtails? My son's trying to figure out how to work on his car and I can't figure out how to do it. And, we funnel them off into the support forum that shows them how to rebuild a carb or, whatever those interests are. Or my one son wants to play a trumpet and I've been a trombone player and how dare he, defect over to the trumpet people.
Dude, I'm glad I married a hairstylist because I tried to give somebody a haircut when I was younger and it was probably the worst haircut I've ever seen in my life. And I got to give an apology to my friend. He wanted me to do it. I ended up like gashing his head all the way back. He was bleeding the whole 9 yards. It's like, okay, I'm not a hairstylist. I was trying to shave his head. It was that bad. But, it kept me from saying, okay, I probably don't need to mess with hair. And so I married a hairstylist. She's the one that helps me with that. I am getting a little rough around the edges. It's about time to get something done. At the same time, I remember like after I got divorced and was raising the girls and my youngest daughter came up and was like, Dad, can you put my hair in pigtails? And I was like, I am the last person that you could expect to do this. But you know what I did? I went to YouTube. Okay. And I figured it out. And one night I put her hair in pigtails and she was pretty because she'd be pretty no matter what her hair looked like.
Right.
At the same time, it was still frizzy in different spots and everything. But I took a picture of her and she kept that on her phone for I don't know how long, man. That was probably one of her most favorite times her hair had got done just because I put in the effort.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though I might not have done it, as she saw her dad put in effort and want to do that for her.
Oh, yeah.
And how many of those guys, again, are not getting those opportunities? I could cry about that one, seriously, because I almost let it hold me back just because I'm a man or I'm a dad. I don't know how to do. No, dude, she was appreciative of it. And I'm telling you, dude, that with our kids, period. Like I can only imagine what that bond's got to be like between a father and a son, but that bond between a father and his daughter is not talked about enough. Our girls need their daddies just as much as the boys do. That's where they get that confidence. I'm going to tell you, I raised some rough girls, dude. I wrestled them. We did the WWE and everything. I always, I wanted a boy. I always did.
Yeah.
Thought I'd go do the mechanics and stuff, even though I wasn't into a lot of that. My dad didn't do it with me because he was always pastor. And I thought I'll learn that with them, teach them some of my knowledge. I didn't have that. So many times I treated my girls like the boys. We got on there. We wrestled on the trampoline. We, did different stuff. And I can tell you, there was time that the boys got on the trampoline and wanted to wrestle with my daughters, and it didn't end well for them.
Yeah.
It didn't. I remember one time the boy was just sitting there like his eyes wide open because my daughter had flipped him over her head.
Oh, really?
And he was like, oh, my God. Oh, yeah, dude. I showed him all the MMA moves and everything. I'd let him put it on me and tap out, Dude.
Okay. I'm going to share. Okay. We're going to go there. I'm sharing this picture about painting fingernails. This was what my wife did to me. I remember I talked about a while back how I would, fall asleep and I would go hard asleep.
Oh,
so this
Lord.
is the one I'm talking about where I was knocked out and she painted my fingernails, put a fork in my hand and earrings on me. There were some other pictures where she put a bra on me and a dress and all that, but I didn't know if that was safe enough here. But
you look almost enough. You look credible enough right here to run the health system for the United States.
I have that. I could do that. But yeah, she's probably tinkling right now laughing at that one. But yeah, no, oh my God, that was, and what was funny about that is I got into the truck right afterwards. I don't think I have the video of that, but and then there's different one. Oh, well, I think we probably show there we go. Yeah. I'll try to show a picture of that.
I got one for you. I gotta find it.
Oh.
Oh, dude,
That's where she put a.
you had
a
some
dress-
bobs.
Oh, you got the bobs.
You
Oh,
didn't wake up.
Didn't I was out when I go down to sleep. I go out. I mean, there obviously
Yeah.
nothing can wake me up. I mean, she did all kinds of stuff. She put a Zumba video game. I mean, I was out. That was just some good. But when you talk about hairstyling, I had I still have cowlicks that I handle with gel. But I remember when I was a little kid, I was like, God, I'm being made fun of for cowlicks. I know. I'll cut where my cowlick is. So I got a pair of scissors, went like this and went, and it was like a bald spot. And I had to wait a month or, my hair a week for it to grow back out. But yeah, oh God, fun times.
I got to try to find this, man. You done brought up yours. I got to bring up mine.
Done brought up Aaron. You done messed up
You done
Aaron?
messed up Aaron. I messed up on this one. I basically gave him a bag of makeup and was like, just have fun with it. And boy, did they.
Did they ever?
Oh yeah. What are some of the other things that you did with your children, Dwayne? Let's talk about some of the good moments for a second. Let's get on that subject.
Great. I mean, obviously I'm a nerd, so I taught them the nerd way of life, but we were little. I got to find a video of them, but I obviously cultured them in 80s music. So they were well cultured in that area. But we would do Superfly Jimmy Snuka moves, and the boys would jump off the couch and nail me. That's why I can't walk right today. Nail me in the back.
Tell you something, brother.
Okay.
Let me tell you something, brother. I mean, just fun, stuff like that. I mean, we did the kids. We got I got a motorcycle, so it's funny. I'd put the youngest on the back, and we'd ride around town and stuff. And it was funny. He was so relaxed, he'd fall asleep. So we'd be riding along, and all of a sudden, I'd feel his helmet hit me in the back, and I'm like, "Kid's asleep." You love falling asleep, all that. But oh god, I mean, just experiencing things. Of course, did the trombone, Well, my oldest was in the trumpet. The bonus child was into saxophone, clarinet, and all that, guitar for a bit. And then the youngest, he was a trumpeter, so got to do the whole music thing. Did marching band, all that cool nerd stuff. We were all in martial arts together. It was a funny story. I got to see two things of memory, but I had signed them up for a program and taught them. I vetted it because I don't believe you get your belts; you earn your belts. That's how it works. But I see when I go into a martial arts studio and I watch and see who gets what, I'm like, no, you have to earn your belt. And it has to be very tough. And not getting a belt is a growth moment. But we were all there, and my kids knew that I had a background in martial arts, and they had been in it for a little while. And the sensei that was there, he was like, "Hey, do you want to give it a try or do whatever?" And I'm like, "All right, sure. What the heck? I'll try to do what was that? A side kick, I think." And they had the guy with the bag on him and stuff, and I'm like, "All right," and just nailed. It was a kind of a jumping side kick. Nailed and knocked his butt across the room, and the sensei was like, "All right, you've done this before." They also got to see Dad fail. They got to see Dad getting older. Let's put it that way. So we were all in there doing our thing, and I was sparring, and I was throwing a punch, or I don't know what it was, and I popped it out, and my shoulder popped out of socket, and it just fell down, and I'm like, "Whoop! I'm out. I'm done." And my son tells me about this to this day. He's like, "That was the first time." Hold on. I realized you weren't Superman. And weirdest things get me choked up. It's so weird. Okay. But that was like the first time he saw his dad as a real person. That, I was not, immortal. And that was, it was a growth moment for both of us. I mean, he saw that. I realized at that moment that I wasn't going to be around forever, and I had to spend that as much time with him as I could, with all my kids. There was that one. It was a fun day though.
Dude, I tell these guys, if you're somebody that hasn't talked to your dad in a while, it might have been a strained relationship or whatever, do what you got to do to go and try to make some peace. Should you have to do it? No. But those are the moments that you're going to miss. And you just brought up something with me, Dwayne. I remember
Mm.
I was in my mid 20s before I
Mhm.
realized my dad's mortality. I had saw him getting older. I saw the gray hairs. I
Mhm.
saw that. But one night, I forget what happened, but he just started having this blank stare. He couldn't talk to you, couldn't acknowledge you or anything. And they called the ambulance, and they was in here, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Carroll. And he wasn't responding.
Hmm.
And still in my head, like, my dad is that big, strong man. Like, what's going on? He's going to pop out of this.
Right.
And that was the first time I realized the mortality, even like 2 weeks before my dad died, because my dad died unexpectedly. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, dude, he's okay. He's okay. And that's why it came from such a shock, dude. When that happened, there's these little memories that we have. Give me like one of your random memories of something that your father used to do for you when you was a kid on the regular.
Oh God. Well, I mean, I think I've shared, my mom, severe mental issues, all kinds of stuff. But my dad was my rock. I mean, he was, he made sure that at the end of the day we were taken care of. God, the things he taught me by teaching me to do stuff, and the things he taught me by not doing things for me and making me figure it out on my own. Trombone and martial arts. I mean, we were poor. I mean, I wanted to talk about on a different show when you were talking about, growing up. I think that the privilege and all that stuff. The house I grew up in was it was a clubhouse in a small little town. It was raised up I lived right next to the river. And when I say right next to the river, I mean 15 feet. Our house is flooded all the time from the river. And we had to move there after, my mom did some financial things that caused my dad to lose everything he owned. But he got us into this clubhouse, and it didn't have air conditioning or heat. So our heat was a kerosene stove and a potbelly stove that I would chop wood to put in there. So for the folks that think that I grew up in privilege or something, there you go. I grew up poor. But I had, two loves. I loved music. And my dad I don't know how he did it, because I know how poor we were now in retrospect, but He got me a trombone, and I am a band nerd, and played that thing for 7 years and all that. The other thing was martial arts. I mean, I think every person from a discipline perspective needs to learn an instrument and learn martial arts, whatever that form is, because it teaches you so many things. And I grew up in the Bruce Lee era, the Chuck Norris and all that. And I wanted to sign up for martial arts lessons, and I don't know how the hell he did it, but I was signed up, and my best friend's dad would drive us to and from, but he would do that. God, the things he would do for me. I mean, obviously providing and showing me what a man should do. I mean, he had more than ample opportunity to fight my mom. My mom was very violent. I mean, she would throw knives at him, chairs. She would try to burn the house down. I mean, there's so many stories I could tell on that I try to repress as much as possible. But a lot of stuff there. But my dad never laid a hand on her and taught me, you do not put your hands on a woman. But he's taught me so many. He taught me so many things, and he and I had our differences. There's no. He tried to warn me about my first wife. I am so sorry, Dad. But
it's the old man knew best.
Yeah.
Why didn't you listen to him though, Dwayne?
Oh, little head thinking for the big head. To put it bluntly, I thought she was different, not realizing I was marrying my mother. I didn't. I mean, he saw the signs. I was too young to know. I mean, I was too young and stupid. I believed, what I was being told, and that he's like, she's going to do this and this to you. And over 17 years, God, one of the things I will never forgive her for is right before my dad died, she was poisoning him against me and telling him all these, obviously not true, but horrible things about me. And I pray to God that he didn't die not believing it, but I wanted him to see that his son actually succeeded and had a good relationship. And I mean, the one part of me knows that he died knowing that I didn't, but I have to hope that, he somehow believed that I was, I was going to do better than him in that area. Anyway, that's one of those disappointments, but no, he did. I mean, little dumb things like I had to do a science experiment on I can't remember what it is now, but the way noise travels over time, and he would drive his vehicle by it while I had my boom box out to record it for school. Make sure I got my first job when I was 14 years old, and he would drive me. He would take off. He was a local truck driver, and he made sure that before I turned 16, he got me to that job. He taught me to work. He taught me to earn money. He taught me that was the only way I was going to get ahead in life, is to bust my butt and get it done, work hard, and you'll see success. So I mean, he made me who I am today, for good or for bad.
Well, you know what, dude? This is probably good that I'm still searching for this picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell this story while I'm searching for the picture.
Okay.
So one of mine, the reason why I asked is this is one of those moments that hit me like a ton of bricks, man. When I was younger, my dad was an insurance salesman. Even though he was a pastor, he never took a salary for being a preacher. And I talk about the crap that I do all the time. Who do you think I got it from? But he was a full-time life insurance salesman, and a lot of his day was going around and collecting money for the life insurance, and then he had to turn it back into the office. Needless to say, he had tons of change. Again, 6'9", size 17 shoe. He was a huge man, but my dad always wore a suit. That's one thing I can say about him. I look back at it now. I never really noticed it when I was a kid, but during the day, he always wore a suit. He wasn't a jeans and t-shirt guy. He was always dressed up, make sure he was presentable. But in the morning times, I ate lunch at school. And so I would have to go get my lunch money, which was like $1.50, I think. And so in the morning time, I can remember him laying in the bed, and I would go and shake my dad in his pants. He slept in his tidy whities and his white dress shirt. And he always had his pants right beside the bed. And he would pick up his pants, and he would get 6 quarters out of that change and give it to me. And then if like, Daddy, I want an extra milk. It's 25 extra cents. He'd give it to me. But I always pay for my lunch in quarters from this life insurance money.
Yep.
Well, the night that he died, we got back home. We had to bring his belongings, and VA and everything was wanting his ID.
Right.
And Mama said, well, we left his pants out in the car. So I go and get his pants. And as I'm walking into the house to give her this, I hear the change jingling. And I remember those pants that he used to get me that money for school.
Yeah.
Dude, that was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. I grabbed those pants, fell to the ground, and couldn't breathe. So I said, "There, you're supposed to be giving me my lunch money."
Yeah.
You know, those memories. It's just those little things that we have of our dads that we cherish like that, man. Here I am, a grown man, talking about getting my lunch money from those quarters. But I loved him so much, man. And you know what? Yes, I had to pay for it in quarters, but he always provided, man.
Yeah.
Always provided. And I miss that so much, man. I finally found this. So I made it through that one. Thank God. Okay?
I didn't.
Dude, I was trying purposely. I wasn't looking at the screen. I was looking through my pictures, because that's the one that gets me, dude. I'm telling you, I grabbed those and I just fell. And oh my God, dude, I didn't get to tell him bye. And now here I am with those pants. Those are the pants of my childhood. Here, let's get you some food, son. You know, from this hard work that he was doing. But I found this picture. Okay, it looks like, you know what? It's not the original picture. It looks like somebody from Dad Talk had already found it and put some graphics on it, unfortunately. But this is that night and saw the girls. Somebody said Princess Edition.
Ah,
I don't know what that was supposed to be, but
you got a
I got
unibrow.
Laura. Yeah. Unibrow. Looked like a Wookiee, man. Looked like a Wookiee. But look at the smiles on the faces.
Oh yeah,
That's what it was about.
yeah.
I am not too much of a man to sit down and do that and make that smile on their face. Now, am I going to go out in public like that? Absolutely not. But it was just one of those things. Those were those nights that we get silly and have fun with their. They love this one thing I used to do, man. I would wear these khakis and I would pull them up to my bobs and put my belt like that. And I wouldn't have told him this back then, and I'm not going to tell him this now. I'll tell you guys, it was the Nut Huggers. I look back in the picture now, and I'm like, oh god, oh god. Anyway, but it looked like my ass was coming all the way up my back, and I'd put my glasses on and do my hair, and I'd talk funny, and they would act like they were in the classroom, and they would be like, kids, come in, and I'd come walking in with my lunchbox. They was like, what's your name? Rory. I'd play like the little dork. My name was Rory. They loved Rory. Right? And dude, I'm serious. And one of the things that we used to do, we even videoed it. God, I hope that never comes to surface. But we did the whole reenactment of the Key and Peele AA run.
Oh yeah,
and stuff, and Rory was a part of it. But dude, we have been going for 3.5 hours. These podcasts just seem to keep getting longer and longer. And you know what?
Fun.
The people are staying with us on them, though.
Oh.
The people are staying with us. So maybe they needed that daily dose.
They need the daily dose of the red pill.
They need that daily dose. Take that, but stay away from that.
Yeah, stay away from cupcake. Yeah. I mean, yes. Actually, other people should share like their. I mean, yeah. I was.
Oh yeah, dude.
Share,
bring them up.
Other people should. I mean, talk about their trials and tribulations. I mean, I'm a redneck. I'm a river rat redneck. I know where I came from. I know people have said, "Oh no, you need to not." No, I mean, this is who I am. This is how I was brought up. These are the values I've been given, and it's who I am. I mean, I have successes now. I busted my butt, in college, working at the same time, and these are all these life experiences, and I enjoy sharing those things with you. I'd love to hear from people out in the crowd. I mean, leave a voicemail talking about a memory that you had with your dad. I mean, there's got to be millions of them, and talk about that. And yeah, it's going to hit hard. I mean, hell, I was having some moments on there. When you were talking about your dad's in the quarters, sparked a memory. I feel all that stuff. This whole thing about guys not having emotions. I mean, I'm ready for a Hallmark channel right now. I mean, we have emotions.
Dude, I mean, there was a reason why I asked you first. One, because I was trying to find the picture of me in the Princess Edition. At the other time was, I know how you get emotional when you talk about your dad. I do the same thing. And I was like, I already know Dwayne is going to have a similar experience because that was the love we had for our fathers.
Yeah.
It's not to say we didn't have our challenges with our dads. They had their challenges with us.
Might launch me over a car.
But I knew before I even asked you what that was going to be, because that's just the respect that sons have for their daddies, the ones that were active in their life, no matter what the challenges were. We love our parents. No child is born with that natural desire to want to hate a parent. And that's why when even the ones that end up in abuse, a lot of times they still love their parent. And so when you see this child that is just completely rejecting that other parent, that's not natural, guys. That is not natural behavior. And it's never going to be. So it's funny though, man. So, with getting the help on the page, I got 2 secretaries now. Both are female. They're getting a lot of the content, like the memes. Look, I've been on here for 3.5 hours. I'm not the one posting those memes right now. They think they know what I like. Sometimes though, you go back and you look at them and like, whoa, they think it's me. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. It was a chick that did that. And so there is a chick that's making some merchandise for Dad Talk right now. And she wants to know if you guys would like this. And she had asked me some different stuff we could put on t-shirts. I was like, Dads matter. Of course, that's a big one. but she made one that said, "Dads matter, your opinion don't." That's pretty. She's like, "Is that too harsh?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh," but in a way, see, look, that's what happens when a female talks for dads.
Yeah.
You think we're bad, but you know what? They're not worried about the blowback. They just want to get the message out there, and that's
Yeah.
really maybe the way it should go. I might tell her to tone that one down a little bit.
I love the energy.
I love it.
Maybe
I love
put
it,
a
dude.
disclaimer. This was posted by a female.
And look, we got a female right here, been here all day and most every day.
Thank you, Wanda.
Sabrina. Yes,
Sabrina.
speak the truth. Jason Bermander said, I've been wondering who was doing those. Dude, I'm telling you, the female advocates from behind fathers' rights are unapologetic and even more outspoken than the men. If you need some support, they get out there. And that's not trying to talk down on masculinity. The guys need to see this. They are energized. And I wish we could get them to match that energy, because we need them in here. I think what happens is the feminists show up in these pages and they think, all women, you just got to completely stay out. That's not true. That is not true, dude.
Yeah.
These can be some of the most fierce advocates, man. And they show up. They show up. And we want you to continue doing that too. This is going to be the point in time where I do have to get off the screen, though. And I don't know what's going on later on. There might be some random pop-up live that we come on here and do. I do have a show that I'm wanting to put out there for you guys that I have recorded, maybe so I can take a day off. I haven't taken a day off in like 2 months. Yeah, no kidding. But there was an episode that I told you about this guy, $250 a year he makes and brings home $25 a paycheck after child support and alimony. And we had to pre-record that one because I didn't know what emotions were going to come out. He's not on the screen. He's not saying his name. I know him. I know the gentleman well. And him and that's another one. His old lady, man, boy, she's a fierce one. But if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be able to live right now, dude. He gets $25 a payday. You hear me? After child support and alimony. They took everything from him. The only thing he's got left is his car. And that was because that was paid off. It's nuts, man. Complete nuts. But guys, like, share, subscribe. Did you go and subscribe and ding the bell on YouTube yet? If not, I'm going to be very upset with you.
No,
I am.
Blondie,
Did you bring out that phone? And did you start liking it there on Facebook? Do it right now. I want to see it. Like, subscribe. Did you go to Cash App? Did you go to Venmo? Dad Talk Today, no spaces. Did you go to Patreon or YouTube or Facebook? Did you send the stars, the support chats? It's, you know what? I'm not shaming anybody into doing that. I'm not doing that.
Oh, if you can, if you feel led, do it.
If you do have it to do it and you feel led to do it, we can use it. And we can use it more than we can ever express on here. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to put it in your corner. If you give us the resources to fight, we're going to fight. And as we get more resources, we'll do more fighting. Until then, we're going to mention it. And if you feel obligated to use it, then please do. Yeah. Until then, what are we going to do? Well, you know what? I got to see. Like I said, that father, it is the anniversary of his daughter's passing tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
That was blocked.
January 1st?
Yes.
Ooh.
So he specifically wanted to do that on New Year's, in her memory. I'm here to do it with him. So I got to find out what's going on though. And I will let you guys know about that as soon as I do. But you know, we said before we came on here, Dwayne, sometimes when we don't have a plan, we just show up and we start rolling with it. Those seem to be some of the better shows.
Yeah. Y'all got to see me with a bra, panties, and painted fingernails. I mean, you got to see Eric with the unibrow. I mean,
and you didn't see Dwayne twerk. You didn't.
Apparently, I guess the stars came through or didn't come through. I don't know. I didn't get the go-ahead to twerk. I'm going to work on my stretches.
There was enough that came through to justify they didn't want to see it on the screen.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe next time. Save your pennies.
All right, guys.
One thing I did want to say at the very end here. Again, the initial holidays are over. We're going to have the part-timers out tonight. Be safe. I mean, if you're going to drink, again, no judgment, whatever. Stay home, get a designated driver. And for the folks that are going through this stuff, reach out. The dad support group, I'm sure, will be lively tonight. I know this is a time you get in your head and reach out. Get, reach out to someone, get your plan together. Wish I could find a better way of saying it, but don't. You've got so much to offer the world. Don't do anything stupid.
Don't by no means, man. And we need you here, guys. I've said it before. I've talked to people that's ran these, suicide hotlines and crisis lines. The worst time of year is New Year's because they held out through the holidays thinking something was going to change. And so you never know who might be in here broken, looking for some relief. That a simple, dude, you can make it through this. I was where you was, and I'm better now. Don't underestimate what that can mean for somebody else. It might not mean anything to you because you're past it, or you might think I've got enough encouragement to get through the world without having to have that. But for somebody else, it might be the only thing that keeps them here on this earth. You understand? And we've seen it. Trust me. I get messages all the time. The only reason I'm still on this earth is because I watch your show. It's the only thing that gave me encouragement. And dude, that's why we take this serious. It's why we're here. And many people, beginning of the year, it's a rough time for them. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, they thought something different was going to happen. And there was a different set of plans for them. We've got to make this a community that welcomes people and understands their pain and hurt. Now, let me tell you something. That, again, we say hurt people hurt other people. They come in here with that hurt. Some of these guys can be a little hard to get along with in the beginning, right? Because they want to shout, my way is the only way. You need to do this. You don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand. I've been through false allegations. I'm being alienated. I'm paying all this money in child support. You don't know what I'm going through. Nobody cares about me. Everybody's corrupt. They come in here and they're very emotionally charged. And as my good friend, Dr. Warren Farrell told me, Eric, there's a reason why they're broken. We've got to learn how we respond to them and help them find healing. Right? I'm not going to lie to you. When those emotionally charged guys used to come to Wayne, because they'll start throwing off all kinds of stuff because they just want to hurt somebody.
Oh, yeah.
They just want to hurt somebody. And I'd be like, dude, I ain't got time for you. Block. Go on.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then it was like, oh, crap. You mean I got to help in the healing process with this? We can't turn our backs on these guys.
No.
If they didn't need healing, if they didn't need help, we wouldn't have to have this platform. So it's all in how you look at it. Guys, I hope you have a happy new year. We might see you before then. We might not. If not, we'll see you in 2023.
What's the dad joke? And I ain't seen you all year.
Yeah.
Or see you next year.
All year. Yeah. We will see you guys next year. Love you so much, man. And I hope you have fun tonight. We'll see you.